deserve it. I know all the work you guys are putting in.
They've been doing an awesome amount of work. All the props to Maddie and Joe.
Yes.
Yeah, Queen.
Hey, there he is.
Hey,
on, Maddie.
you too, Joe. You
Hey.
too, Joe. You too.
Yeah, honestly, Joe. By the way, you look fucking great on stream. It fucking like nailed it. Like, by the way, guys, awesome job.
Yep.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
How's it going, Maddie?
Awesome.
Good to see you. Everything looked great tonight. I only got a chance to see mostly moving lips and everything, but lots of smiles. I was reading the comments. Can't wait to watch it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, thanks to you. Thanks to you for coordinating everything behind the scenes.
We had some fun today between Kinetics and Crypto Grandma. That was an exciting little half-hour right there, right, Molly?
Yep. Clearly, Crypto Grandma was the more successful of the two.
I definitely love Crypto Grandma, and then honestly, like Kinetics thing, like with his perspective, like boggles my mind. Like I drew a graph on it. Like I don't understand how he did this.
People have donated over $2,000 already to Crypto Grandma.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
That's
Dude,
so cool.
She's dope. Like I wanted someone to like pop in and just let her know that like, I mean, it takes me about 100 hours to do a background. It's a lot. But she's dope and she needs her own Crypto Grandma background.
Absolutely.
Oh, it feels like the Hex Brady bunch, and I guess I get to be Alice.
Yeah, smack dab in the middle.
God damn it.
I like to take Papa Boner for the block in the center square.
Alice was a G.
Alice was definitely a G.
Yeah.
Maddie, check the private chat.
Sure.
How is my YouTube like showing Maddie and Crypty Girl still, and we're over here? Something's fluxed in the ecosystem. Yeah.
Oh.
Multiverse.
Yeah.
I know, right? Well, that was the whole Burning Man nonsense. Like I built all that.
I have a question for Nerd Girl.
What's up, Jim?
So my question is, inside of Silicon Valley, there's not that many female engineers, people interested in tech, things like that as far as female. And maybe it's psychology. I don't know what the reason is. Why are you interested in crypto? Like, was this always something that you were trying to problem solve or engineer personality, or why are you attracted to it?
Okay, so, well, I mean, I really first got interested in cryptocurrency. I got introduced to cryptocurrency, like I said today, because someone who I was dating was really, really interested in it. He thought not only was it going to make him rich, but that also the technology would change the world. And he wouldn't talk about anything else. So pretty much like if I wanted to hang out with him, I either just had to listen to him say the same stuff over and over again, or I had to learn something so that I could contribute to the conversation. So I started to learn about it. And then as I was looking at it, I saw so many, like I was like, this is religious studies. This is what there's anthropology and sociology to be done here. Like, this is what I trained to do. And then I started looking at, instances, group formations and instances of crypto tribalism and thinking about religious wars. And so I think it is several things, like it tied to work that I did earlier. And then, also I like money.
there are honestly, I know a lot of us like crypto because of the mad gains, the multiple, all that kind of thing, but there are millions of ways to make money. There are millions of ways to become, top 5% of the population as far as wealth. This is just one. I mean, 9 of the top 10 billionaires as far as value are in the tech space, but that wasn't always true. So why crypto? And there's all kinds of things you could be researching that are tribal, anthropological, why do people behave the way that they behave, kind of social studies kind of questions. But crypto is different, or is it not? What are you saying?
I guess it seemed like there was a unique opportunity to do what I do in cryptocurrency that nobody else was doing, or that nobody else who I was aware of was doing. And like, unique is cool,
Yeah.
But I don't know specifically like why crypto over something else. It's probably as simple as like, I found crypto and I didn't find something else instead. It could easily have been worked out differently. It just happened to work out this way.
Some say divine intervention.
Yeah.
It brought us all together.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
I like the dimorphism. You know, again, Richard speaks, you know, sometimes not politically correct. I've seen you interviewing before about certain topics that are not politically correct.
Yeah.
And I don't want us all to become androgynous, uniform, you know, single gender race.
Neither do I.
So yeah, so it's just interesting to have you as part of the space. There's other people that make commentary. Obviously, there's other people that are they're crypto because they have 20,000 followers, but really they're in the image game. They're in the influence because they're female and they will attract an audience. And that's maybe, you know, 100,000 years of history as far as who, you know, who looks at who. But yeah, I just think it's interesting that you kind of walk both lines. I mean, you're influential in to both genders, not just because of one you know thing you speak. It's pretty cool.
Thanks, Jim. That's like I don't know. I tried to try to make sure that it comes across that I'm not just in crypto because I'm a minority, you know, here and like a novelty, but like I care, you know. I mean, I care because all my money is in it. And then
you were talking about, so again, in tribalism, you pay attention to the fact that so many of us are military history. And if you go through boot camp, you go through war, basically the first thing that you are taught, and again, it is so that you can win, is that you alienate the other.
Yeah.
You dehumanize the other because they don't speak your language. They don't have your politics. They don't have your religion. The mother doesn't look like your mother. You know, the color of their skin is really like the 10th tier down as far as a differentiator. It is all of these other sorts of things that I see, again, to keep it out of the politics, this country has divided, and I would like it to be united. And I don't know if that is because we have to have aliens come down from Mars and try and take us over where we unite, or we have some other kind of catastrophe thing, because that's really all that's brought
the
us
Guardians.
common.
The Guardians. Did you guys remember that like Pence speech about the Guardians? Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, pretty cool.
It's definitely cool. It's definitely cool.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm excited. That was fun. I should have made my talk longer.
You did well.
You became so
did
self-conscious
fucking
at the 13-minute mark.
You did absolutely fantastic. You're like, oh my God, I have an extra 8 minutes. Let's just talk with Maddie about stuff in life. You did great. I was literally driving in with my TV that burnt out before Christmas, and I'm just like, you look so great. The composition worked. All the things worked. You did fantastic. Don't worry about it. Like your message for the first 20 minutes is worth more than you fussing about what do you talk about with Maddie to do a filler, right? You know what I mean? Richard's great. You had a great conversation with him, blah, blah, blah. But like your message, which is your life and how you got into it, that's what matters. So don't worry about that. Again, we're just talking heads right now. You don't have to worry about that stuff.
That's true. I guess at some point it will have to become more professional and more cut, but you're right. This was just the first. This is just the beginning.
You did great. Like as a professional, it does this professionally. You did fantastic. Don't second. Yeah,
I know everyone's been really nice. I've been getting so many nice messages and comments and stuff on Twitter and throughout. But then someone just sent me, one person from outside of the Hex community just sent me a criticism about how rough it was at the end and how it was, dumb that I didn't have anything else prepared. And I'm like,
so what's their channel link and how public are they in their speaking and public dissertation?
Right? Send them to me, Gary. Like I've worked 80 hours a week in the most complex industry for 15 years. He can go fuck himself.
What I saw, I only saw a little bit.
Sorry, Maddie. Sorry.
It was impeccable what I saw. I saw the beginning of it. I saw a little bit of the middle of it, and I was thoroughly impressed. Absolutely thoroughly.
100%. You did fantastic, and that's the beauty of Hexicans is you don't have to start on this Ivy stage that you started here with all this expectation and experience. You just got on screen. You just set up your green screen tonight. I was helping you setting it up.
I know.
You did great. Don't let anyone in your DMs don't second guess that you did fantastic. Just
Okay.
like Maddie's doing fantastic, Joe's doing fantastic. Everybody here is doing fantastic.
I
You're
thought the
killing
was
it.
really good.
Nerd girl, your cat did not talk enough. That was a criticism that I picked up on. I'd like you to fix that next time.
I'll take the cat. I will always take the cat.
I
Hey,
heard
Maddie. Congrats on a second day, man. Successful day for the HEXchanges. That was good stuff.
I appreciate it. Yeah, today was pretty easy because I didn't have to do much talking, and I just got to introduce people. So
You're just whipping the Joe to be on the fucking sorry, Maddie. In the green. I'm dirtier than the captain when it comes to cursing. But like you did great. Both you and Joe have done fantastic on
Thank
whipping
you.
it together, man. I all the Kool-Aid Larry bits. You're doing well. Like
Thank you,
super
guys.
well.
Thank you.
I almost got fired tonight, so thank you. I made it, but a couple times there, huh, Maddie? So-
Wonder who
What do
was
you mean?
responsible for
It's
that.
hard for volunteers to get fired.
Yeah.
Oops.
Thank you,
Yeah, I'm
Kool-Aid.
trying to figure out what time it is in
Oh,
England
thanks,
right now, so
Grandma.
I can tell Silva
love
the
any of
antidote.
that.
And
I think it's 8 hours behind or 8 hours in front. I'm not sure from where I am, which would be 9 from you.
What?
England.
That's always the problem with crypto and dealing with UTC and like figuring out like where your future self is and where you're time traveling.
Yeah.
Alexa,
But
what
I mean,
time
are
is
you
it in
playing Silver's
England?
video today or is that tomorrow? That's on you, Maddie.
Oh, what's up?
Are we playing Silver's video today or is that tomorrow?
He's on a panel
With
tomorrow?
me. But
Yes.
like, so the video that we pre-recorded, is that using somewhere else or is he actually going to be live?
He's gonna be live. He's got 2 time slots tomorrow, and
Okay.
so for the first one, since it's gonna be like the middle of the night for him or whatever,
Mhm.
it's
The video.
that's pre-recorded, and then in the third hour of the conference tomorrow is when the game theory panel is.
Yes.
So that's when
Okay.
he'll be live.
Good. Good. You have a very great, in like Hexo and Crypto Girl, or no, I don't know. Like, it's so weird to like split yourself between too many different streams, but everything is so good. Like y'all
really right
did well. Y'all did super well.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
I wonder if a StreamYard's going to have, now that Hopin or whoever their company is that they're joining into, I wonder if they're going to have better transitions. I would love to have like a thing I can hit that just transitions or does a fade out, fade in. That'd be a nice improvement.
Yeah,
I agree.
but you should just use OBS at the end of the day.
OBS would do it.
Exactly. Just
I mean, Barely Crafty has it down. Like,
Yeah.
So I used to do line prompts in Windows, and a lot of us know DOS, but a majority of the population uses something that's a GUI and just hit a button. So I understand what you're saying about OBS does 1,000 things, and I've heard it 100 times. But if you're trying to get someone to launch that night, StreamYard is very useful. So
well, that's what I talked with Cap about several times. Same with Kinetics and all the rest of that. The value of Hex isn't the performance value, right? Being gritty and being so pro that no one can do that's great. But what's great is that everyone shows their face and they can get on a stream, super easy peasy. I don't care if your webcam don't work. I don't care if your microphone sucks. I don't care about all of that. What matters is that you share your story. That is the coup de grace of cultural building of value. And so inherently you should have an OBS setup because it's a little bit easier to just like run some magic. Hold on, let's see. I can move my head. I can move my head. I can move my head. I don't know if that how long it's that thing's gonna like transpire, but that has so much value to it that you can get just anyone on board. I mean, Bitfinesse, dude, he's a truck driver. He's a truck driver for 2.5 years. He's calling in from his Freightliner rig. I know the inside. I know that interior like well. That has insane value, because if you can get login from your Freightliner from a truck stop, why are you worried about it, right? Like, what is your variable of not expertise versus variable of expectance that you can't not log in and show your face and show what awesomeness is going on?
Yes, everybody.
I'm gonna go, guys. This is a good talk.
Hey, thanks, Kool-Aid, for all your work, man. You the Pixel Slayer, you did a really good job, and I need to learn the OBS, man. I need you to teach me that when we hang out. Cause
just come over. We live in the same city. Like, it's very shocking that we live in the same city. Just come over. I got you.
Hell yeah, man. Looking forward to it.
And well, that's the whole thing. It's like the Hex community, whether you're a whale, a shark, or a shrimp, we look out for each other. More or less, like on stream, if you get on stream, you have more of an Ivy League persona that, because we see you, we will take care of you. But if you're just in the chat, for the most part, I don't have time to like troll the chat, but I know the Hexagon community that we will take care of good actors. We shut up bad actors, and that inherent ideal will give you value, right? And that value is what you sell to your mother, your grandmother. That's why, again, I gifted grandma a background. It's going to take me about 100 hours to build, but we'll do it. Because why? It has value to show and share. Hex is the ultimate show and tell, right? And it's the show and tell of making financial freedom and money. Money is great, but financial freedom is more powerful than money.
Absolutely.
Money is just
I apologize
language.
for being distracted at the beginning because I was messaging Silver. I want to make sure that since he's such a awesome member of the community, I wanted to make sure, because I think he woke up and it's the middle of the night for him now. He woke up thinking it was today. It was that he was supposed to be going on now. And so I wanted to make sure to message him back right away and let him know that it'll be tomorrow and exactly what time.
And I'm trying to buy some hex lamps right now, so sorry.
That's cool.
Some what?
Hex lamps. Hex lamps.
Papa and I are just trolling the stream.
I'll show them a little bit later when they come in.
I want to see that shit now. What hex lamp?
No.
I'm gonna front run you. I'm gonna buy it before you do.
I mean,
I pre-ordered already.
So like whatever you buy, I'll just make in fakey land, and
yeah, you can pixelate it, so it'll be perfect.
It'll be perfect.
All right. Well, I got
Can we
finished
have
on my purchase.
Barely Crafty show off some of his special effects?
No, you got some good media enhancement. Yeah, totally do it.
Ray and Maddie, check the private chat, please.
I mean, I have the thing I did in After Effects. It's just my
you got
logo.
a lot of stuff. Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, you kind of did, but there's like a little bit of animation of it just looks.
Yeah, Barely Crafty, which she was good, like 100%. Like you render the alpha channel out well. It looks good.
And this little transition I made, just like to go in between the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a lot. I just like when it looks good, and because it builds your you get those extra points of trust whenever someone comes across you for the first time, and you sound good and you look good and you make somewhat sense. You get.
Oh, they're coming to take you away now.
That's mine.
Extra few chances.
Great timing.
For them to stick around and listen for a little bit longer, because
Sure.
I did a little bit of streaming of gaming content. It didn't go anywhere, but it allowed me to polish my English. And actually, if I weren't streaming for 2 years approximately, which my wife absolutely hated, like that was like a big no-no. It was a taboo. Like, are you still streaming? Are you still doing this? Are you still like going in that direction with your life? But funnily enough,
is she okay with it now? That it's Hex?
She kind of is sleeping still. It's 6 a.m. No, but it's funny how life works because without those 2 years of streaming gaming content, I wouldn't polish my English enough to get a job as an interpreter, and then I wouldn't be able to stream now, because now to do this for Hex community, I have all the experience of those 2 years of setting OBS, getting the camera, getting like the Rode mic, the proper sounding Rode mic on the arm. Because I started streaming, I shit you not, my first streams were like a headset with a pull-out mic, which sounded too shitty. So on top of that, I just duct taped iPhone freaking headset.
Dude, you sound fucking
there
great.
There was a lot of duct tape in my setup for like a year and a half until I saved up from donors to get a better mic, and slowly like an arm, and then arm for a camera. It just takes time, but experience stays right with you, and you never know when it comes in handy. And now I just like, oh shit, Hex, what a cool product. And what a cool community. Oh shit, I kind of want to stream again. I kind of want to make content again. And I'm pivoting from gaming towards talking about financial independence and saving up for the future. And Hex as well is a big part. Hex is my main tool for that. I'm also wanted to mention that I like Cardano as well, just like Crypto Kool-Aid, just like Dollar Cost Crypto. There are a few people in Hex community who likes Cardano. I also did sell like a huge part of my bag before big payday, but when time comes, I'll get it back.
You know, the reason why I like Cardano is I like Charles, right? And the thing is that I know that I would get more X's in Hex.
So anyway, you know, people will read the sign. It says Hex here. You know,
All right, RJ.
I'll tell you which one you're in, and it's called a Hex. HEX.
This is the day we lost Crypto Kool-Aid.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And, you know, here's the thing is, look what background Maddie has, and he thinks that he has the fucking like button pull. You got the wrong background behind you, Maddie. You got the wrong background.
Some other crypto or something.
Mexicans cannot be maximalists by definition. We need
100%. 100%. There's a difference between tribalism and metric market pull, right? Hex has more metric market pull. That's why I put my time into it. Do I like other things? Sure. I like cats. Is cats going to make me more money than nothing? No. But metric market pull actually has, it's like having a jack and a spare in your car when your shit breaks down. What do you want to?
I hear you, but I am going to cut you off because there are hundreds, if not thousands of people that will watch this content and they're not interested in cats. They are interested in your perspective about the metric pull of Hex. So it is polite, like you're already doing, to hedge or not comment about other things. It's not that we're maximalists. It is simply that we are respecting the time of 1,000 other people, or maybe 10,000 other people, or maybe 100,000 other hours watching this content.
Sure. No, I agree. I agree with you. I mean, again, I mean, that's why
I'm not talking about cats or porcupines right now.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. However, Maddie's background is still the wrong background.
It looks like Hex to me.
I thought for the hangout we were doing something different because, like, it's like, you know, we're not going to be our wild and crazy selves, you know, like in the conference background. You know, like, because you moved to a different location.
I should have built the flying cars in the background, Maddie. I should have gone back to work and built the flying cars.
Yeah. It's my second favorite 3-letter word with EX in it. It's amazing.
We get back to Connecticut, Maddie. Back to New England.
Nice throne.
Yeah, that's a very nice throne, Joe.
Thank you. Just kidding.
And again, out of everybody that's in here, I love everybody's hours, maybe hundreds of hours or thousands of hours, who knows. Everybody, again, deserves massive kudos. One of the people that has been supportive so much cross-platform wise out of this room especially is Bran. Bran has supported through Twitch, through Twitter, through DLive, through moderating. His time, you know, is one, he learns, but he gives back 1,000 times more than he gets from the community. I think he gets a lot, but I think he gives countless amounts of mental energy, trolling. I mean, he does a lot in the background that's just really should be celebrated. I really like Brand's contribution.
And you're super new, right, Brand? Like when did you get in?
What was the question?
When did you get in? 2017, 2018?
Yeah, like March 2017. Yeah.
Okay, so you rode the up and the down. That's all. That's all you have to do. It's like once you realize that you rode the big up and the down. That's
everyone needs to go through like one market cycle, and I guess a lot of the times people that are new buyers in like real estate do the same thing, or just other markets. Sometimes in general, you tend to buy with the hype and the FOMO, and sometimes you need to get wrecked to learn what's good and what's not.
You always have to get wrecked. As a professional, you have to learn to fail fast. I don't care what your industry is. You have to learn to fail fast because you have a great idea doesn't mean it's lickable, doesn't mean it sells, doesn't mean it works. You have to get past that. And that's the beauty of the ecosystem that we're in, is we can see those values and where they go, period.
Totally, man. Totally agree. Well, I think it's something that, it makes a big impact, like on Twitter when people use hashtags or even sending out the messages to the telegrams, whether it's the like Hex cross, like something like Hex cross promotions, I think is one of them, and then Hex Pro, and then just the hex.com. That in combination with like Instagram and the other applications, it spreads the word out for sure.
Bran, I thought that you were, not only are you supportive of others, but you're motivational on your own, and I've been following your work. I can't get you live all the time. I try to give you a heads up when I can. Like, I think today was like 6 a.m. for me. So,
okay, yeah.
Somebody texted me, Brand's online. So I wanted to see it, but I'm never, I'm always very, very satisfied with what you do. And it's almost worth losing all my sleep to check you out. But thank you very much for being very supportive of me and forgiving me for my stupidity sometimes, and calling others out and working on the community like this. I really want to thank you.
No, thank you, man. Like in part of my talk during the rapid round yesterday was about the Hex community, and people like Kool-Aid, Bustin, doing a whole bunch of work to make the actual designs, and everyone else in the community. I think collectively we make this team like a pretty big team, so it's pretty cool.
The thing is that it's going to be so much crazier in the next year or two. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be absolutely nuts.
You want to 50x or more your value of your Hex or your stakes, 5x the community. Oh, yeah, just 5x the community. Really, it's that simple.
That's it. It's super simple. Super simple.
You talk about like the degree of separation, Gary, and that makes a pretty big difference. It's almost like compounding within itself when you share something that works well for you, it can work well for other people too. And it's not like people ask like, oh, is it too late for me to get in? And especially when you're staking and you look at the APY you're getting, I don't see how you could think that that's too late to get in.
Yeah, we watch things like the news, which is basically the things that happened and the bad things. Like we typically, if we have a bad experience at a hotel, we will tell 10 people. If we have a good experience at a hotel, we might tell one. It's rare. And so to have 10 to 20 people that are broadcasting on a regular basis inside of Hex speaks volumes about the participants in Hex. So the mute or the person that's not necessarily making commentary or making content, they are absorbing. And that message has impact because we are conditioned to hear 9 times worse information or more fear-mongering information than positive affirming truths.
So Gary, apparently, like someone just market bought a huge ton, so we have a giant green dick candle.
Yeah,
Oh,
141.
I saw Brand was doing something while we were streaming.
Wow.
And like, what's this guy doing, man?
I know it.
He's
Bye.
buying
What I say is, why hello there? Why hello there?
Nice.
He just
Wait,
talked about
I'm
a
not
green
ready.
candle.
I need more. Stop it. Never enough.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Wow. 10% identity block says on the chat.
No way.
20% in the last 24 hours.
I'm in bed.
There we go. Yep. Very nice.
Brand's a killer whale.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy for him to help and participate and share when he's like, you know, the super whale in the room. He's like, I'll be quiet about it. I just be like, let me take notes.
Jeez, Brand. Jeez, why can I be like that, Brand? Well, the interesting thing is, it's like, so we haven't like dipped above 0.0012. That has been a resistance for a while, and then it shoots back up. For a while, it was what, like 0.008, 0.0065, and we just don't even see that number anymore.
You know, when you buy real estate, you are very thankful when you get 4 or 5% a year
Yes,
in
sir.
appreciation. A year. Right, that's like an amazing market. You're like, oh, this is terrific, man. So any other asset? I mean, what else can you buy? Comic books? I mean, what can you buy that gets valuation of, let's say, 10% in a month, much less 10% in minutes ago. So,
But what about my collection of NFTs?
your paintings, your digital paintings. Send me a picture and I'll tell you how much it's worth.
And I mean, yeah, I guess I should. Matty will get angry with me.
Oh, no more coins. No more different coins, fellas.
It has nothing to do with coins. It has to do with the value, right? Hex has a value of being a CD. That is what it is. So I used to drive truck like Bitfinex. I used to run 18 gears for a living. You know what I did? I went up a mountain with 80,000 pounds stacked on my ass. And if I'm going to do that, that is my job. You have a job for a particular token, for a particular value. Hex's job is to encourage people to pay themselves into the future.
I know I pay my future self really well, way better than I deserve. But now I've got to live up to it.
Well, that's the cool thing is you don't like. There's no middlemen. There's no admin keys or anything like that. You are paying yourself in the future, and when you have T-shares, those are similar to Bitcoin's hash rate. And when other people are more short-sighted and they're only staking for 1, 2, 3 years, well, the longer the stakes you have that are say 555 or Quattro Cinco, and then higher T-shares, then they're going to be worth a lot more when other people, their shares expire.
I gotta say, my past self is a bitch ass punk. He didn't give me shit.
You know?
I'm gonna give the future me a nickel or two.
Exactly.
Pardon my French there, Maddie. I'm sorry.
We gotta keep this clean, for the future generations that are watching.
After 11 p.m., I thought that was a word you could use on primetime TV. No?
It's called Hex up all night.
It's before 11 p.m. somewhere.
Oh,
yeah, people can listen to this the next day, it turns out.
Yeah, I just reported the stream on YouTube. Getting that first strike.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Again, Hex is an amazing product. It does amazing things. I think people they'll find purpose and use utility with their time, hopefully. Again, the first thing is to laze about and live a Playboy life or whatever if you make a windfall money. But you'll find purpose, and hopefully people in this room will build other things, do other things with that time, productive.
Well, you gave a great example of that tonight, and I thank you for sharing your personal story, and it was really awesome to kind of like to see in pictures. I mean, it's one thing to tell a story, but the way that you told it was outstanding as well.
Thanks. Yes. Richard Hart, everyone knows his real name, Richard Schuler. Everybody knows he's a stage name of Richard Hart. There's meaning behind that change. And I thought about like the doxing thing. I've made comments before about like, you know, how much do people share? I think it's amazing that Hex people like on this channel broadcast their face, their identity, their emotion, their character, right? Their consistency, right? Their support, cross support. Their, you know, there's a lot in this community that's more than just the value of the coin or something like that. And Richard is an amazing example of that. You know, not you know, again, there's no reason to praise someone in my perspective because I've been with warriors, I've been in combat, I've been around people that are mega academic, you know, accolades and wealthy, far wealthier than Richard by far. And yeah, I've gotten more meaning and purpose out of my life because of Richard's words and his consistent work ethic and his consistent follow through on things that he says he will do, he does. And I find that inside, like, again, the special forces people is just examples in my own personal life of people that sign a contract, they have an intention, you know, if they're not going to make it further down the road, then they have an option to ring out at any time. They don't ever have to stay in a particular unit or under an obligation. They can quit, but they don't. They have mettle. And I like that about Richard, and I like how that positively impacts the community that either is attracted to Richard's words or the things he's completed. You know, I really respect that a lot.
No, I agree with that. It's all about the metal aspect. You hit it right on the head. It's because when you say what you're going to do, I mean, so game theory, I don't want to tip my hat to like the next thing, but it's like the game theory is you're incentivized to do two things. In a game, you can be incentivized to do what you want to do, or you can be punished to not do what you don't want to do. But in our reality, we're actually incentivized to pay for something that depreciates the second we buy it. And then we FOMO into something that has a clips, and now we want to crawl after it. And you hit it right on the head, Gary. It's just like, do what you say you're going to do and do it well. And that's metal. Metal builds iron. Iron builds platinum, right? You know what I mean? It's that stage of multiple levels of completion. Essentially, like game theory is about bedrock. If you build proper bedrock, you can continue to build the foundations, stationary things that you can do. And that's it. Yeah, that's it. You hit it right on the head.
Thanks. Yeah, everything leans toward Richard's, you know, previous words and just putting them back out there again. You know, it's really good.
Gary, which branch did you serve in again?
So the Marine Corps doesn't have any medical people of their own, and they don't have any religious people of their own. So if you're a chaplain or a religious assistant, I guess, or if you are a doctor or you're what's called a corpsman, then you can be attached to the Marine Corps. So I was in 11 years. The first 5 years was a Marine Corps unit as a medic. So I was in the Navy, but I wore Marine Corps uniform, did Marine Corps things. The only task that's different, or the biggest task that's different, is I'm considered a non-combatant. So I'm only supposed to defend myself in war or my patient. So my obligation is really to the battlefield. But yeah, it's the first 4 years was that. The last 6 years, like Motley, you had a 6-year obligation when I took a certain secondary kind of school. And that secondary school required me to learn cardiology types of things and stuff like that, that I transitioned into a civilian life, same field.
Are you practicing now, Gary?
So I stepped away in late 17, early 18. I'd done some startup related things. I used to run an accelerator in Palo Alto, different places. It was mostly a housing play. It was mostly before like WeWork and things like that existed. So I would house 20 or so startup related people while they went through different programs on polishing their pitch deck and getting money and things like that in from VC or seed, and then help them once they got funded. They could stay in the Bay Area and it would be very expensive and they would burn their runway faster, or they could basically 4 times their time and better their experience as millennials to live in Chiang Mai, Thailand, or Bali, or South America. So I went to a lot of different places from 2014 to 17 while I was still in medicine to set up startup related stuff in other countries. And then in 17, whenever tech and the bubble of the ICO launch, I was more immersed in it, but also got wrecked in it like a lot of us in here. I was like, oh man, I probably shouldn't bet on that. But yeah, so I stepped away from medicine in 18. I came back in mid 19 to make sure all my credentials would stay certified and I wouldn't go to some kind of follow-up education in the future. So I went back and worked during all the COVID stuff and all the things like that. And then I retired again, and from medicine at least, in May again of this year. So I don't practice now.
I see.
What's up, Toby?
Hey guys.
Toby.
Didn't know if this was wide open to everyone. I thought I would just come on to make everyone look more handsome.
You're so handsome as all the things. So by the way, we have more Haskins coming in, so I am going to get off. And
wait, don't go. It's like well, hit me up on Telegram. I've been trying to reach you anyhow. So, but it's if you got to run, you got to run. Always enjoy your content and all the contributions you made. So I just wanted to say that. But
thank you, brother.
Yeah, get me on Telegram. I've been trying to reach you about a couple of things.
Yeah, no, 100%. I just want to get like all the people online. Like me and my silly CG things are irrelevant. But
no, those are great. Those are great.
Not silly, not irrelevant.
They doctor it up.
Not even close.
It all looks so professional. I mean,
nobody knows that this is just one person streaming, and Crypto Kool-Aid did an overlay on 9 different characters. There's just one guy. We just have different faces because of Kool-Aid's.
I don't know. Did you see Kinetics on earlier? I don't know about that.
I tell you that
you can't fake that.
That was a weird perspective. I sent him a whole bunch of Escher shit, and I'm just like, why are you fucking with me on my own background? But yeah, no, totally hit me up. I know we got some more Hexcons coming on, and I don't want to fill the fire. I'd rather watch y'all than me not be on. So
I'm out too. I'm out too.
All the fucking love,
thanks, guys.
And tomorrow game theory, I will break that down. But Toby one, like definitely hit me up, and we'll talk from there.
Sure, Motley, good to see you, man.
Yep.
Gentlemen, all love.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
God, I scared everybody off.
No, I just wanted to cycle.
Let me have I got one big confession here. I, especially coming from a psychology background myself, Maddie broke my heart this week. He sent me a message telling me that my avatar doesn't look like me, and I was just crushed.
You got a beard. You got a beard right now, and you're crushed over it. Your avatar does not have a beard.
This is
20 years younger.
That's a good chunk of it, and it's probably 10 years old. And it's
but it doesn't have a beard either.
Well, yeah, that's true. It's got a little scruff, I think, in the avatar if you look closely. But it's like I've always colored my hair, like always. I mean, I can't even remember when I didn't. And since COVID, it's like I've gone the opposite way of Jimmy Dore. I don't know if you guys watch him at all, but he had like jet black hair, and then since COVID, he's just gone white. Yeah. Well, I went from blonde to where I'm at now.
You should go purple. Kool-Aid went purple this week. You go purple.
I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of like Kinetics and that scarf. It's like you got to be cool to pull that kind of stuff off.
Yeah,
I'm not that cool. Wait,
cool. You think he pulled off the scarf?
I didn't pull off the scarf. It's like I was busting his balls in the chat. I called it a shaw. I said Grandma was going to try to wrestle him for the shaw, but but I thought he looked good in it. He pulled it off. I mean, a little. Oh gosh, who was the guy? Oh, I can't think of it now, but he was a leader of the Palestinians.
Yeah.
Shoot, everyone's drawing a blank. It is. I thought Gary would bail me out on that one.
I'm sorry. Someone was texting me something. I didn't hear all of it. What were you saying?
Who was the guy that was the leader of the Palestinians? He always wore the headscarf with the black and white.
Yeah, I forgot his name. But yeah, you're right. I know you're talking about.
But that's
I didn't mean to break your heart.
I'm just teasing you, Maddie.
Valid
criticism. Well, I just feel like more people probably know me because I'm all over Twitter and all over, with that.
I got confused. I've seen you on discourse, and like now I'm trying to, cause like when you're online and you're trying to make sure that you're messaging the real person, so that it's not like a security problem, or you're making sure to give attention to other cutthroats and people who are on discourse, and so there was just this discrepancy, and so, but I wanted to let you know, just because like
hairdresser's getting ready to get back at it, so give me time. I'm trying to lose a little weight too. I'm doing the ski cat challenge, so it's like give me time, and I'll get back into my former glory.
Toby, don't worry.
I think
you're
you're
the only one.
plenty glorious now.
Oh God, that's the beard, man. It's like it's hard to let go. Like when you start the beard, it's hard to go back.
Toby Wan, you're going to be a big part of our marketing efforts going forward, because you are one of these amazing stories where you like took a loan on your home and like bought all into Hex at the top. And now you're probably doing pretty well after all that. Right?
Yeah, I am. I didn't go quite that hard. It was some credit cards, to be frank, and it's like I had some crypto that I liquidated. I liquidated a bunch of Bitcoin right at the tail end of October, and Litecoin and Ethereum, and dumped it all in at 1.2 cents plus not a small amount on some no interest credit cards. And I was riding that pre-BPD pump, and I overshot my mark a little bit. I thought we'd hit at least 3 cents, and I thought I could dump a third of my bag and pocket my investment, and then I'd have the rest to stake out beyond BPD. So the backup plan was just to stake it all. If it didn't hit, then stake it all, and I did, and it's turned out great. And I mean, we're only still at what, 1.4? Yeah, I tried to break the top line of that 4-hour chart, and it's starting to wick down. So you guys need to hop on and buy a little behind me, will you?
Sure.
So you bought right before big payday, which was November, right? So that was November 19th, or was it 19th?
Yeah, I bought, just probably maybe a week before that.
Had the credit cards that you used, were they already in use, or were they kind of new, like it was new accounts?
They were, no, they were, one was new and one I'd had for a while.
So if the new one, if you don't use new things on it, I don't know if you have, don't talk too much about it, but basically if you haven't too much, you might consider, again, you had a purchase in 2020, and then if you decide in 2021 before like March that might come to fruition and be worthwhile, you should consider transferring that Hex to ownership. You don't have to move them out of MetaMask. You don't have to change the ownership key. If you are the single member LLC, you form a new one, or you consider Puerto Rico or changing state or wherever it might be that's best tax advantage. So if you have those questions in the future, talk to a professional. I'm not a professional. I just connect people to professionals.
Yep. I've followed a lot of what you've had to say on CryptoGov. And
you will give away more than half of what your winnings are if you mess this up.
Oh, yeah.
Not you specifically, but a lot of people will.
Oh, for sure.
And you can compound that. So I didn't really do a lot of shilling of my referral link as far as me personally, but I did have on Hex Help some, and people ended up, they didn't necessarily click it to buy new Hex, but they made donations and such. And that Hex, again, it wasn't significant in dollar value when it was contributed, but it's now, and when I got it, I ended up staking it for a minimum of 3 years. So that Hex now is worth like 40 grand that goes to charity. So you can do a lot of things inside of either a nonprofit, or you can roll it over into, and even though you purchased it in 2020 with a credit card, you can still call that startup capitalization of a new entity. You can roll that into that new startup capitalization of that entity, whether it gets stakes come out in a certain amount of time or they don't, or whatever. So you should talk, most people in the United States as citizens should talk to a tax professional before March, definitely before March.
Right.
Because if you're talking to a CPA that doesn't know much about crypto, you don't need to be paying them to be educated.
Right.
You need to choose people that are already in the crypto space, already utilize crypto in some way as CPAs or lawyers that can protect your ROI.
Right.
Welcome to Crypto Vince, by the way.
Thank you.
Wanted to make sure you got a chance to say something here since you came on.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah. Thank you, Joe Exotic, for inviting me on. Yeah,
absolutely. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah, good to be on stream with all of you. Yeah, I would have joined sooner, but I was working on the timestamps for the conference actually, and I just posted.
You are awesome.
Yes.
That is such a huge asset, and I can't thank you enough.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Crypto Events has been doing that for a solid year at least on everything that a lot of what Richard has put out there.
Oh, that's a thank.
That's
really
so helpful. That helped me when I was making Hex cameos. I couldn't have done it without the timestamps.
The timestamping, and then he does a lot in Twitter. I mean, he's definitely a Twitter support guy.
Yeah, I try.
Yeah, Gary. One thing I wanted to throw out there to you, just to kind of wrap up that train of thought. I've been in since day 2, so I actually had a lot of stakes that were just, because early on I was just kind of throwing them out there. I didn't really have a concept of a staking ladder. I was just like, okay, I'll throw this out. Just past big payday, I'll throw this out for 5 years. I'll throw this out for 10, whatever. So I had a lot that came out right after big payday that had been from days like 2, 3, 4, and up through like day 18, I think. And so as those came out, the gains on those were considerable. However, the price dumped. So what was really good is that I had such a high cost basis on the stuff that I bought right before big payday. Talking to my accountant, doing those as LIFO worked out great. So I actually was able to lock in a bunch of capital loss against all the capital gain I had on the crypto I liquidated. Right. So that worked out okay, but I definitely want to talk to somebody about the LLC idea and some of that other stuff, because I mean, making the money is great, but keeping the money is equally important.
Yeah. So again, people that might consider it, they can reach out to me. I don't want to dominate this conversation. Puerto Rico, I talk about a lot because it's really beneficial to e-commerce people that are Forex, commodity, stock traders, bankers. There are a lot of billionaires that are here, have nothing to do with crypto. But it's the best advantageous place in the United States for a U.S. citizen. It doesn't have to have visa issues, doesn't have to have passport issues, doesn't have to length of stay and things like that kinds of things. And they can, if nothing else, they can be more philanthropic with the money that they don't give to government. And again, I'm not anti-government. I was in the military, I was in war, but I don't think we should fight as many wars as we are involved with. And the best way to disempower that kind of thing is to go with crypto, which, hopefully Hex takes total domination because it is a truth engine. It does have a contract element to it that I like a lot. It doesn't have a lot of ability to be debased. So the merits of Hex are amazing when the narrative of crypto has been saying this for a long time, but really hasn't acted on it.
Yeah. Awesome points.
In Puerto Rico full time, or you're all over the place, right?
Yeah, so you have to do 183 days on average per year. In the first 3 years,
right,
that I was here, I spent more than a year here, and so I front loaded a lot. And then I went to California for basically like a year, and then I came back again. So if you're averaging, it's basically you do a 3-year average. And over the 3 years, 3 times 183 days, whatever that number is, 500 and something. Right. If you complete that within that rolling window, then you're fine. So you could talk nuance later, but that's the general.
And I talked to Franklin St. Hex. I was thinking about coming down there late spring, early summer to look around a bit. So I'll have to hit you up.
Yeah, again, I know people that are sharks, and I don't know any whales that have confessed to be whales, but I know people that are sharks that they need to be in Puerto Rico before, because you're resetting your basis. And the way you're resetting it is either before Hex, you had to, if you came to Act 22 and Act 20 and you went through this process like I did in 2018, you had to sell all of your crypto, and then hours later, usually the next day, you bought it all back. So you sold all of the coins that you had that didn't have a penalty other than, if it's a big enough liquidity market, then you didn't even affect the market. So it didn't matter. So you just sold, you realize that gain is taxable based on the state and continental US you used to live in, and you're reasserting your new basis based on being a Puerto Rican resident. So you have an application date. On that application date before Hex, that would have been the method that you would basically establish what you owe, have a clean slate, move forward with 0 capital gains on anything that happens in the future once you're compliant with the residency and the closer connection tests of Puerto Rico. And or now that you are basically probably staked, a lot of people are staked, then you can transfer through legal contract to your entity. And your entity, you have to comply with residency. You have to still have the same kinds of rules, but you can capitalize a new startup with dollar bills, with credit card forward loan from your credit card, your personal credit card, and you capitalize your new company, and with your crypto. You can do it with crypto. So, you know, a lot of the nuance and, you know, that Richard built in of like good accounting and all these other sorts of things are great because it depends on your jurisdiction, your country, your state, all those things on where you are living a majority of your calendar year. But Puerto Rico, I don't have to think about that so much. I don't have to be afraid as much. And so Puerto Rico is great in that you should be keeping track of when I bought, what I sold for, I moved it into Ethereum, now I staked it, it comes out in the future. What does that mean? Is it a dividend? Is it a income? Is it a compounding? What is it, right? What is HEX when it comes out? Right. And I don't have to think about any of that stuff because legally, through the sovereign power of Puerto Rico as a U.S. territory, I'm defended. You know, I have a sovereign title for 20 years, so I'm fine. But most people should consider that if they're a low-level dolphin, they definitely need to be considering it.
Hey, Vince, you need to timestamp that section right there.
Will do.
Thanks, Gary. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're good.
Thank you. Yeah, that's super valuable.
I talk about sharks, and here comes Bran. Thank you, Bran.
Right.
Coming back on.
My internet exit scammed on me. There was a gust of wind that I think you know, hit one of the power lines or something. So the modem or the router, I mean, was just resetting. But good old exit scams.
Is Vince a shark?
Yes, I am. I'm on the verge of being a dolphin, though.
Oh,
On the cusp.
Yeah, I got to start adding more stakes.
Do it.
Yeah.
Other people can definitely.
I'm inventing in between titles. I'd like to be called I'd like to be called a Squalfin from now on, please.
The Shalfin.
Shalton.
What now?
I just want to be called a smelly clam. As long as I'm not a smelly clam, I can be anything else. I don't want to be
Chlamydia clam.
Yeah, I don't want to be the smelly clam. I'm glad they dropped that one.
Yeah. No
It's
comment.
cool, man. It's like another thing that like gamifies HEX, or like another game theory thing where people are naturally competitive and they, like my dad, and I was showing him today and he's like, what's this? Like, what's this dolphin? What's this squid? And I was kind of telling him about it, and it's really cool, man. They really got something going there.
Yeah,
that's what part of the game.
You know, that's one of those emergent properties that Richard talks about. You know, people in the community will come up with things. They'll have insights that even he didn't think about. You know, it's amazing what you can contribute as a community member to HEX, because Steph came up with that, you know, gamification.
Yeah,
Thought.
And he'll be able to do the panel tomorrow with the other people who have different perspectives on game theory that all kind of come together. One of the interesting things about game theory is lots of people can't decide on what exactly it is in terms of psychology, economics. There's lots of different definitions of it, and so that's interesting as well, that that people can come up with lots of different ideas that are related to this idea of incentives and this idea of that people are always going to do what's most adaptive to themselves, and that's really what part of how Bitcoin has been explained to me, and probably everybody else as well. That there's a game theory between the miners and the coins, where the miners, they have an incentive to not make the coins worthless, and so they have an incentive to protect, because that's what they're getting paid in, and so that certainly, it makes things interesting. And when it comes along to HEX, then you know, there's the OA behavior that is incentivized to be, you know, basically paying us tons of interest right now, right? And is incentivized to not be dumping HEX on our heads. And then we've got this game theoretical, like, kind of competition going on, and being able to see your rank. It's HEX is one of these things where it's unique in that you can see everything that's happening, even into the future. You can see the future market supply that's never existed before. And so, like you guys are saying, it's going to change the game. It's going to change game theory. It's going to change a lot of things that revolve around that, because that's really part of the basis, I think, of human behavior, is how people are incentivized to do things or not do things, and what games people are playing and not playing.
Good points. One of the things I've found really interesting personally, and then also it's been kind of shown throughout the rest of the community, is the people that I've been able to onboard are some of the smartest people I know, which is just really telling, I think, about the project as a whole. I've got one friend that's a engineer, 3D radar technology stuff, like missile guidance system, like literally a rocket scientist, right? And another friend of mine that's a doctor. And then I got a new guy in today. I got a guy that I'm talking to Tuesday next week, I believe. Really, really smart guys. And then invariably, you know, they ask some of the tough questions. And, you know, one of the things I've seen not touched on enough, I think, is, you know, the 3.69% interest. And I kind of exposed my own stupidity a little bit in the green room the other night, because it's like I'm 98.9% sure this is what it is, but it's like the reason that we're at 40% right now is because there's only 10% staked, and so those 10% of us that are staked are getting all of that 3.69%. So, you know, invariably the question will come up from people is like, well, you know, eventually it'll just go down to that 3.69, and whoop-de-doo, if there's no price appreciation, then that's not that great of a return, and that's technically accurate. However, the factor that I think a lot of people don't look at is how much of that is OA. And there is not really much of an incentive at this point for them to stake. So I keep, you know, positing the situation of a worst case scenario. So let's say there's another 10% out there that's not OA, and they stake. So what's that do? That takes us down to 20%. That's still great. That's still remarkable. And that's only if all of them stake, you know.
That's the best case though, right? I mean, like,
yes,
either way, it's like, if, you know, the OA has 70 to 80% and is like overpaying us our interest now, probably to balance the scales and everything. And so that's really incredible. And
it's a double-edged sword, because it's like, you know, the one question is, well, you know, if there's all this out there that's not staked, you know, are they going to dump? And then I explain, no, that's majority of that's the OA, and they've proven their benevolence with this history and such and so. And then the flip side of that is, well, what if they stake? You know, they don't dump, but they stake, and then that eats up the interest. It's like, well, there's no reason for them to stake. So therefore, the worst case, best case, whatever, you know, which side you want to call it, is, you know, that our interest gets cut down to 20, but then you still have the early end stake penalties, which I think are going to be substantial as time goes on. And I mean, the upside is, it's remarkable. I mean, it's just really, I mean, I feel, you know,
you're taken care of, because that's the game theory and the incentives. The incentives are for the OA to make this a game that pays high interest, right? A high interest certificate of deposit. And, you know, I'm going to argue 3.69% is like guaranteed is way better than what's going on now with negative interest rates. The price of things going up, when, you know, as people in Hex, we're going to benefit from the future of the world could be an abundance of resources. And if there wasn't so much centralization sucking all of the abundance out of the system, you know, things would be even better than they are now, which by some standards is better than ever in human history. I mean, there are fewer people starving to death now than in any time in human history. And but it's still centralization that causes that, because we can't get the resources to those people because they're in, you know, war. They're in places that really, you know, the leaders just take everything and they don't let people have it. So
property rights, they don't have property rights.
Good. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
A quick question. In the post big payday world, do you think that there'll ever be a triggering event on that scale again when the OA will go to stake?
Some competitor threat, you know, airdrop, you know, someone tries to basically do a fork, whatever. The OA is so dispersed their defender, their emote. So yeah, I think that's the only real purpose from now on, really, is to defend the price. And so staking, whether that's, you know, a mechanism, who knows, you know, but it's always nice to have more in the armory than you need.
Sure.
Like Kool-Aid's backdrop with all the soldiers, right?
That's right.
I love that Richards. He's leading the pack. It's really good.
Yeah, that's classic.
Well, he made a great comment in one of his videos. I forgot if it was very recent or it was just one I rewatched, and it was about you know, for those moments when he shares something that you feel enlightened, you feel like you got something. You're like, whoa, that makes sense. In those moments, you are a genius. In those moments, you are genius, and you're able to explain those ideas the way that he explains them, or the way that you hear echoed through the community. You're able to explain those things when, like Toby Wan was saying, he has a conversation with a rocket scientist, or he has a conversation with a physician or whatever. In those moments, you are very relatable because you're not just spitting back words that don't mean something to you. You're relating them because you understand them too. And in those moments, you become a smarter person. You become a wiser person about either the world or economics or about game theory or marketing or whatever the topic might be that people bring up. So I'm a better person because of the past year or two around Richard.
Yeah, I can agree with that for sure.
He's done a lot, man. Like almost more than anyone. Like when you compare. It's kind of hard to compare, but when you look at what Richard's done, I mean, not only being a founder of Hex, but Sci-Vive and these other things that he's done is really cool. It's really motivating.
Yeah, looks like Cookie Boy's got a new Hex tattoo today. He was trying to tell Brand.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I'll have to check that out for sure.
Right on. Cookie's got some fire jewelry too. I'm not a big jewelry guy, but he's got some really nice stuff. So he does some good work. But what was I going to say? Oh, the guy I onboarded today. It's like it was so funny because he kind of echoed a question I had from the guy I'm going to be talking to on Tuesday, and it was just really almost comical to me that the same question came up so quickly between two people that have no contact with each other. And the thing was they were like, well, it's so complicated to get in, you know. It's like, why is it, you know, it's like, is this going to be on Coinbase soon? Is that possible? And I'm telling him, I'm like, wait, I'm like, stop and think about that statement for a minute. I'm like, that's why that it's still ground floor. That's why you can get it for around a penny right now. It's like, as soon as this becomes so easy, you know, the fiat on-ramp gets so simple, which is coming, it's just a matter of time. It's like, then everybody and their brother, there's no reason for them not to get into it. Right now, it is pretty complicated. You know, I mean, you really do have to take even smarter people by the hand to kind of show them and get them comfortable if they've not been around crypto and in the space, and, you know, the steps you have to do it and do it safely. But that is a benefit. And it's, you know, and if everybody just is listening and, you know, educating like they do, I mean, this community is amazing. It's like Valiant. I mean, Hex, you know, Joe Hexotic, it's like Manny, Gary, of course, you know, all you guys, it's like, you know, what you're doing out there to spread the word of like how this works. And then what was really remarkable to me yesterday, I kind of freaked out because, you know, we're always looking for, you know, bigger audiences. And Kenneth Bosnack, I think, is on Twitter. He's got he's got like 40,000 followers, and I didn't dig deep enough to find out, like, but I guess he kind of took a crap on Hex early on and made kind of some quip about it that was kind of salty. And then he came out yesterday and had like a little 4-minute live video where he apologized to Richard and thanked the Hex community. Talked about he had staked for 5555. I mean, talk about a conversion. You know, and it's like, I grew up in the church and stuff, so I always have biblical references. So it's like immediately I thought of like Saul on the road to Damascus, and he'd seen the light, and then all of a sudden it's like this guy's a champion of Hex, and it's like, you know, he's a believer now. And, you know, I mean, to throw it out there 15 years that's a big level of commitment. So
he was in the chat a lot tonight.
Oh, was he in there tonight?
During Nerd Girls talk, he was making himself known.
Yeah.
That's great.
I saw that he had staked his Hex for Quattro Cinco, and you know, to Toby's point, I was kind of I remember seeing the information said about you know, Hex and whatnot, and it's cool that we can all come back full circle and welcome them back in. And Quattro Cinco is a lot to do a million Hex for, so that's really cool.
Yeah, we need to get him and Bitcoin Bobby in there to do a little video to talk about how their conversions.
Is it Bitcoin Bobby? Is he doing it? Well, he was working on a different company.
No, when he got, or BitBoy, what's his name?
BitBoy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because he did
Bobby or whatever. He was a crypto guy, but he started some other kind of recruiting company or something.
Different.
For this question we have from a tech boy, I just wanted to let you know, if you go to the same website people go to for the conference, which just HEXchange.live routes to allmylinks.com/allin, and I've got a section there where it's only about 7 links that you can direct people to if they want to buy Hex. It says do your own research, and then it's got an article about how to buy Hex in 3 easy steps from Taylor Kennedy, and then I've got links to MetaMask and links to ethhex.com, and then an article about again from Taylor Kennedy, how to stake Hex in 3 easy steps. And so having all those links next to each other, I think, is how I want to. That's how I'm, sending people basically the list, because otherwise it's a lot to just have in one message.
Right.
And if people have questions, the first place you should go, and you should sit down and quiet and just go through the content. Don't have distractions. Don't have distractions, is hex.com. So many people have been in this community for a long time, and they're very active in different chat rooms and Twitter, and they're very supportive, but they also have never read the website. So they should read their website so they can speak from the horse's mouth as far as what Hex does, how to stake, what do shares mean, all of those things, because Richard has often he's created videos that are linked onto the hex.com website. And, some of the basics about MetaMask and the basics about why Ethereum as an infrastructure. And there's a lot of reasons that you should set aside a couple of hours, digest it in, 10 or 15 minute increments if you need to. But go through word by word, content by content, link by link, because people have invested hundreds, if not thousands of hours to create the content that you can digest on one site about Hex.
Exactly. It's funny how many people that have even been in it for a minute that have not read the whole website. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and the newbies especially, it's like, it's right there. And I mean, you've heard Richard say it, it's like read. People don't like to read. It's like, it's all there. Just go through it. It is a lot to digest, ask questions. That's why Telegram's there. There's a really healthy community there of 22,000 members, something like that. And somebody quickly will answer your questions.
Yeah, another reason why you see so much written content is because you can toggle on that website to be the language you're familiar with. Yep. So you speak Russian, you speak Korean, you don't understand what Richard's saying on a video, or some other content creator about Hex that may not be speaking your common language. The website has a lot of that, and you should be able to navigate it in your language you're comfortable with and ideas that you're comfortable with, and that website's got it for you.
Yep.
This is awesome. This has gotten better since the last time I really studied it.
Oh yeah, it's just he's doing stuff all the time, or whoever.
It loads faster. I mean, he changed everything that was PNGs and video content that was kind of bogging it down. Yep. Everything's HEICs now, and fastest load. It's amazing. And you can see that it's based in what was that, down in Belize? Is that in Belize? Was that Hex, or was that something other agency?
1, 2, 3.
That wasn't there before.
Yeah, that's cool.
See what you discover? I didn't even know that.
Yeah. People go to the hex.com website.
I mean, it's crazy how things will change, and if you don't go back frequently, you'll miss it.
Yeah. So and then we've got this is the newest version of the Hex contract in lay terms, written by Nerd Girl, and she did a great job with that. and so this is a really easy way to digest it, and so
great. Yeah, I'd heard about that, but I hadn't read that.
Yeah, this is a new. It just came out not too long ago, a couple weeks ago maybe, and you know, I've customized this whole thing for the conference to try to you know, to highlight some stuff that would be helpful to people with the buying Hex thing, and Staker app is to monitor your stakes. You know, people, hopefully soon that'll be a place where you can buy and stake. But for right now, it's just for monitoring. And then I even put Crypto Grandma Talks already in there because she does a really good job of putting together playlists for new people. So,
and Crypto Coffee had a video not too long ago, a tutorial on kind of like the basics of getting into it and staking it, if I'm not mistaken, not long ago.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Toblerone.
Bruce.
Nice background, man.
Look at that.
Hey.
Hey guys, can you hear
That's
me?
cool.
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, cool.
You're a little far from the mic unless you want to turn the sound up. Your mic needs to be gained up a little bit.
How about now?
It's better. Just speak broadcast like you're on stage.
Okay. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Doing good.
I don't know who has a lot of clicking. Maybe Toby won. Whoever's, if you can hit your mute for a minute. Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Toblerone. What were you saying? Great to see you.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here, but glad to be a part of the conference. I was listening till it ended yesterday. And
Yeah,
it's pretty exciting. It's the second day of 4, so nearly halfway.
So when did you first hear of Richard or hear of Hex? How did you first, become aware of this thing?
You know, when I started to look into Hex, it was because I had listened to podcasts with DCC and Wasabi during the summer, probably August, September, October time, and they were talking about Hex, and I was just listening, trying to figure out what they were talking about. Eventually, when I got in and I watched them Richard Hart videos, I kind of had memories from 2 or 3 years ago where I'm like, I think I've seen this guy before on YouTube, but nothing that I had subscribed to or anything. I just in passing. So it kind of brought back a little bit of a memory. But getting into Hex this just about a month, maybe not quite a month, a few weeks before Big Payday, it's really been fun in different ways. It's fun because of the game theory itself. It's fun because of the community, and it's fun because of it's the opposite of static. It's constantly changing. You never know what you're going to get. There's so many variables that can change in a positive way. It was funny because I was watching a video from Kinetics, not a video, a stream with Kinetics was on. It might have been something from a few weeks ago, and he said something that stuck with me that was kind of funny, and it was just about not having enough hours in the day to watch all the streams, so he watches everybody in 2x, and he's and he said something like, I wish when I'm doing it live, I wish everybody would just speak twice as fast, right? And so I don't know why I remembered that, but I find that sometimes when I'm falling asleep at night, I'm just drifting off thinking about different crypto stuff, and I had this weird it's not really serious, it's more like it's just a joke, but that thought came in my head, and I was thinking about how in like a twilight zone of Hex there could be some sort of system where you could do that, where essentially you could fast forward your stakes in the sense of like somebody with a shorter stake, somebody with a longer stake, maybe meeting with an equal size stake, different lengths, and both of them for one reason or another wanting one guy wanting to be longer, one guy wanting to be shorter, and essentially like agreeing to for one guy to speed up and one guy to slow down his stake. And, you know, perhaps the problem with that is that you eliminate penalties. But if that would ever happen where that could be facilitated and a bit of penalty goes to the community, it's just like funny how the mind is with so many variables. You can just think up anything for this, even if it's not feasible or plausible or can't be coded in. It's just like fun to be able to just throw around brainstorming with people. And that for me was just you know, like shits and giggles falling asleep kind of thought. But it's funny how one comment that he made weeks ago led me to think about that just randomly. And all this stuff is just it's so fun.
Yeah, it's the speculative stickiness side. Like you know, if the fish is getting away from you every time you try and think of a net, you're like, okay, I gotta get that fish, you know, whatever. It's just part of our human psychology to try and game it and figure it out. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody see in the chat, again, not to, he stays anonymous, but I don't know if you saw Swift Salamander. Many people know Kyle because he explains a lot of the game theory and he explains a lot of the ways that they thought it might work, right? So in his models of how Hex might play out. Swift Salamander, if that's the same guy, is one of the devs that actually built Hex with Richard, if it's the same guy. And he said just now that he's working on something that's going to release in a week or two related for the hexagon. So if you look in the comment section, that's kind of a juicy comment I noticed while you were talking a moment ago.
Okay, yeah, I put it up, but I didn't know the significance of the person.
Yeah. So
was that the master dev?
If it's the same guy, he's gotten kudos from Richard and Stream before about being, you know, instrumental
was
in
this the one that
development.
Was this the one that was like super anonymous that Kyle also tipped the hat to?
Yeah, Kyle explains better because he's willing to be public about it, and he works in a lot of industries that are similar and understands the language to be a good liaison to the public. So Kyle does terrific. And Swift, for whatever, you know, for many reasons, a lot of people choose just to be anonymous. But when he says things like that in the chat while he's watching a HEXchange kind of, you know, conference, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, or, you know, thanks for being in the comments and being a participant, Swift Salamander. It's a pleasure to have you there.
He's built a lot of websites that he either doesn't tell us or whatever, but a lot of the tools that you're using are because the math is just expressed in a way you can graphically understand it on websites.
Wow.
Hey guys, real quick, Toby, can you check your Twitter, and Tobler, can you check your TG, please, your Telegram?
Yep.
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, super exciting. And we've got, we're going to have a talk from Dev Kyle for tomorrow. And so that'll be really exciting to look forward to. I think there was somebody mentioning, you know, I consume as much Hex content as possible. And so I'm not sure who said it, but somebody said recently that it really made them more comfortable with the project, being able to hear from one of the devs and seeing them stream. And so that's definitely something that probably a lot of people are thinking if people are saying it.
Cool.
Yeah, I have, just so you know, I have both of those checked. They've been checked from the start.
Awesome.
Oh, good. It's just the sound bites. Sometimes it's RG3 does it sometimes, and sometimes cell phones just aren't that happy with streaming.
Thank you, guys.
Very cool. So 2021, what is this? This is January of 21. So January 22, is this an annual thing? Was HEXchange 2? When is that?
Yeah, it'll be the same dates in 2022. You know, because we got Joe Hexotic here, who is giving his speech on Saturday, and it was coincidental that is his 1 year sobriety anniversary.
Cool.
And so we believed that it's been written in the stars to have the HEX conference every year at this time.
That's great.
Funding Jim, as Richard says, there is a HEXchange too. It's called HEXchange.
always there with the layup, man. Papa's always reliable for the good zinger. I love it. Yeah, I love it when he just made that. Like, if people in the audience haven't seen that content that he's referencing, people had been kind of complaining, whining a little bit, and they said, you know, man, I wish that HEX would just come down in price so I can get back in. Do you think you guys can launch another HEX so that I can get in that other HEX, that second HEX, and I can be an early adopter in that second HEX? And then Richard, classic, says there is a second HEX. It's called HEX. Get in HEX. It's called HEX. And HEX 3 and HEX 4 and HEX 7 is called HEX.
I agree with that. I mean, it was designed with intent, and it's going to be around for a long time. People are locking up their stakes for 15.2 years on a consistent basis, and what happens when people end their Cuatro Cinco stakes that happen in 15 years? A lot of people, including myself, will restake the principal or the interest as well. So that's going to make a big deal.
Yeah, and again, an example just people might be familiar with is real estate. Is in the Bay Area, real estate is ridiculously expensive in dollar terms. It's very expensive, but the market there to some degree can support that expense. That's why, you can complain that a football player makes hundreds of millions of dollars, and you're like, why is that good guy get $100 million? It's because people pay him hundreds of millions of dollars, because he is getting that, he's attracting that capital for whatever reason. Same sort of thing with real estate in a way. So in the Bay Area, in a neighborhood that I bought, the neighbors bought in 1957 when the property was developed by someone, and it was $28,000. The average house in that neighborhood, 2-story house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, that kind of stuff, maybe 4-bedroom, 2-bath sometimes. And so $28,000. In the 1980s, still, even though tech had come into the Bay Area to some degree, that particular region wasn't Google, wasn't Apple, wasn't anything like that as far as influence on or impact on the price of real estate. So a house in the 80s from the 1950s and being in the 20,000-ish, high 20,000s range, that same house without any improvement, any remodel, any change, any land size different, nothing different really, is worth around $250,000, $230,000. When I bought that property I'm talking about in 2013. In 2013, coming from Texas, coming from relative poverty as a kid, military experience where I would work an entire year in war environments for 25 grand a year, right? In the military back when I was in the service. And so to leverage and buy real estate that was $790,000, knowing that someone a few years earlier had paid $300,000 or $400,000, I thought that's ridiculous. California's retarded. Why do people do this? This is dumb. Should not do this. But I've always kind of hedged with, I want other people to pay for stuff. So I would convert property into rental appropriate for not single family, but for single individuals. And I would try to do house hacking, as in you sign a lease, and that lease is okay as long as other people are paying for the cost and you have a margin. So I would look at 2013, 14, and I'd say, okay, 790, that's ridiculously high, but do your research and you find out you can make a profit. You can make a profit either because you're flipping the property or because you are subletting the property out for margin. So 790 and 200 in 2013. Recently, even during COVID, recently it appraised at 2.2 million, and it has an income of 26,000 a month with an overhead of 4,500 a month. So you can say that HEX is expensive at 1.2 cents, and you can see a 20% pump because of this conversation. And you can say, man, I wish it would come down to 0.9 because I sure do remember that was only a month ago, or 0.8, or last year when it was a SAT, whoop-de-doo, I sure do wish I could get back in that new version of HEX. That new version of HEX is not going to happen. Richard's not going to have a second launch. A competitor product is very highly likely not to go through 3 audits, very highly likely not to usurp the first mover advantage that Hex has as a CD blockchain, blockchain CD. So you can wish that you bought Coca-Cola and try to buy Fanta or Sprite or whatever it might be, some other product. You can wish that you bought into something else that you missed out on because you were waiting for the adoption curve to be further along and more people to be in before you feel comfortable to get in something, whatever it is, real estate, whatever it is. And so I'm just pointing out that the Hex 2, Hex 3, Hex 4 option, you're going to get probably rug pulled by communities or by founders or anonymous people that put a backdoor or trapdoor in to hurt you financially, in my opinion. So the Hex 2 is here. It's called Hex. Hex 3 is here. It's called Hex. HEXchange number 2, I think we will have a different version next year. We'll have a different audience and a different presenters, but maybe HEXchange 2 is just going to be a replay. Who knows?
Yeah. This will be a thing, and it'll be in person, and this is going to be the one where people don't go beat up Bitcoiners at the Bitcoin conference. This will be the one where we just do our own thing as Hex speakers. So
nice.
No violence, please.
Nice.
I have a question for people that know the legacy system better than I do. What has been clear cut from, we all know, and Richard said many times, and product is, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's taking a legacy finance instrument that's worth trillions of dollars and being the first to put it on blockchain and crypto. And so that's what's, aside from it also being just awesome and complete and audited and all that, and that's what made the product successful. I always wonder what other untapped financial instruments are available for the next Richard Hart to go around and say, okay, well, no one's done this in crypto yet. Maybe this could be just as successful. Like, what else is there that maybe some other developer could go and do?
A lot of things other people could do. Yeah,
I think I could speak to that because I think part of the psychology here, and you'll appreciate this, Tobler, is because you have a psychology background. I think what's going to happen is people are going to get bored in Hex because they're already in the best thing, and so you don't have to do anything, right? But we feel like, especially if there's finances involved, that we have to be doing something, right? Otherwise, it's like we're not participating, or we're not earning it, or we're not doing our part. And so, so my strategy for this is I have a tiny little bit of Hex that I play around with on the side, just to like distract myself from the fact that like I don't need to be getting in and out of Hex. I don't need to be finding the next financial thing, is because we're already in the right thing. And so I want to welcome. We have a special guest here. Silver the Antidote.
Silver.
All right.
Welcome, Silver.
Welcome, brother. Good to see you. Good to have you.
Awesome. Nice.
He's on mute. He doesn't know it.
Just go on.
Oh, Silver.
Yeah.
I just need to switch the internet.
It's so good to hear from you. How's it going?
He's switching the internet over. He'll be back.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Oh, give me one
He's
second.
he's checking out your wallet.
It's funny because I had
that I donated
to
a crypto granny today, and so yeah, I'm exposed. I'm compromised.
You're doxxed. You're so doxxed.
I have a question that was specifically for him, so I'm pretty excited.
And he's gone, so too late.
Yeah.
Ask Papa instead. Let's just see what kind of answer we get.
Oh, no.
See there? I guess I could just ask you guys, and if it's there in time.
Oh no,
Hello?
he'll come back. He'll come back. Just hang on.
He'll be back.
There he is.
There he is.
There he is.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool, man. Yeah, VPNs and stuff seem to lag it out. So yeah, doing a bit of 4G as well. Really bad internet location that I'm in. So hopefully tomorrow is going to be good for me.
Sounds good.
But I've got a decent data package, and yeah, fingers crossed. It's all good. Anyway, guys, really enjoying everything so far. Gary, I always love listening to you. You always sort of make my mind wander in many different avenues. And yeah, I mean, I was listening to a bit of your tax stuff earlier, and I know it's a lot different, obviously, for the US guys. But I think it might be quite valuable if one day I come out and give people perspectives from like being from the UK, because I'm sure that we have quite a lot of people that, you know, the US stuff doesn't apply to them. And there's a lot of different ways that I live my life, which might be quite beneficial. So maybe we can do a chat about that as well and try to, you know, help another, you know, geographical area.
Yeah, I would love that. That would be amazing. I would love to set something up like that with you.
Cool. So how's everyone doing?
Great. I have a question for you, Silver. I'm a fan of yours, and I like your videos. I just had a question about being a tech, data-driven, data analysis type of person that you're so inclined and so good at it. I'm wondering if you have any excited anticipation for where we haven't even gotten yet, because we need to be in the future to have it. But what you're hoping to see in terms of historical data when we have a few years under our belts, to maybe like what would interest you the most? Say we get to the point where early stakers have, you know, gotten through a few years of ending their stakes and restaking, and you start to see how certain people sort of play the game, how many people are willing to roll over their entire principal plus interest, or some people split it up, some people just do principal. Once we obviously don't have that yet, but we will in a few years. And I'm wondering if if you've ever thought about that, if you're excited about that, and also how you think that type of thing combined with something like Staker app will enhance the game theory, where certain people can so like when people look at, say, GraphHex.rocks and they see gaps and they try to play the game of, okay, well, maybe if I end a stake here, I'll be front running, or I'll be able to end a stake, and whatever your game theory thoughts are. If you start to know how certain people behave with historical data, like how that can change the game, and how you know, everything's pretty transparent. So a person like you can come along and know all these addresses, and soon we'll have who knows what all of these websites, all these hex websites are going to contain, and there's going to be so much there that everyone can do it. But a person like you, especially, like, you must be pretty excited for how this is all going to play out in the next few years and even decades.
Right. So we've got a lot of people that are adapting and changing their understanding. You know, from December 2019 through to big payday, everybody started to change their game plans, right? End stakes were coming in, people were pushing it out longer, people were trying to front run, thinking, okay, I can get a 3x, you know, on a big pay, and it didn't work out like that. So now, with obviously some of the topics that were brought up yesterday showing exactly the value of T-shares into the future, I think this was probably something I was going to raise tomorrow in the conversation, but I think, you know, it's no reason why we don't do it now as well. A lot of people, like you're saying about Hex 1, Hex 2, Hex 3, there's all these different variant types, but I don't think we really understand that, because everyone here was in early, we've made many mistakes in what we've done. Yeah. So there's a whole opportunity for anybody new coming who will gain all of the experience that we have learned from our mistakes along the way, that they won't need to make those mistakes. They can review the information that we've said, we've learned, we've paid penalties. Many of us have paid penalties and staking, right? Everybody will have the benefit to basically make a perfect ladder going forwards into year 2. And a lot of people who are in, you know, they have stakes year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, maybe some of these people that are getting in now and will learn about this and find out about this information, they will be like, well, I don't actually need to do a year 2, year 3. I can catch up with a lot of these people that were buying in very early and just go stake it out 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and into 15s. So they will be able to outperform many people that are locked into stakes right now. So how do I think that changes and makes things exciting? I think that is even more of a reason why we can take this out to people that are not in this system at the moment and say, look, guys, you actually have a superb opportunity. It's not gone. You haven't missed the boat. And I actually listened to a video from, I don't know whether you can call it a competitor. I would just call it someone else trying to take a chance on something. But the boat is nowhere near left the dock. It's like it has only just started, which is why, yes, of course, I'm excited about it. I want to share as much information about it as I can. But a lot of people look at this like this liquidity thing as well. And they look at the OA and they kind of get a bit scared. And something I noticed yesterday is there was actually about another $2 million worth of liquidity that was removed. And interestingly enough, the price has just pumped a little bit more. So it's like, it's not all about how much you have, because the liquidity is only important to lock in the value at a certain point in the future. So only when someone decides to, okay, this is a good price, we can create stability, because a lot of people, a lot of the bigger money will want a lot more stability into this interest type play. So I think like within 5 years, it's still going to be growth phase. But after that, we're probably going to be seeing a lot more stability and just a more gradual up into the right price. And that just basically cements the whole ecosystem as, okay, we've succeeded.
Do you ever talk about what your strategies are for staking?
Of course not.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay.
No, I give some ideas about things. I mean, there's a lot of other people that do fantastic things. I don't think it's always great to lock 100%. I think to have a bit of flexibility, especially because at the end of the day, we are in market cycles. And from a psychological point of view, nobody really wants to hold on and see their asset value depreciate by 90%. Because that's a big psychological thing. Many of us have been through that, 2017, 18, and many people before that. So I think from a standpoint of psychology, you actually do want to take something off of the table just to feel like you have some physical thing that you can materialize into the real world. Because, depression's a real thing. And say, one day in a year's or 2 years' time, people are in that $1 million bracket worth of value. And then suddenly a big bear market hits the crypto space and you're back down at, I don't know, 100,000 capital in value locked inside a HEX. You're going to be like, why didn't I at least take some of that off, right? And it's important to, move, because life is always like cycles. You have to sort of flow in and flow out. Money is like water, it comes and goes and it moves through markets. I'm not saying that crypto won't continue going up and to the right, because it kind of mathematically will, but there's a big psychological thing that people have to take into account. And if you're staked out 15 years, you've got no choice. You've got to deal with those emotions, and nobody knows what emotions might come into play for the duration of time.
One of the things that I've said is, I
don't know that we've been on stream before. I'm in your Discord through your Patreon. So I think you actually know my real name, because I paid through PayPal. So
I don't look at it either day. Just I treat it private, all right? So
yeah, but it's a pleasure to be on stream with you, man. It's like I really appreciate all that you do for the community, and your Patreon's fantastic. It's like if anybody's not taking advantage of that, I would highly recommend supporting Silver in that way.
Absolutely.
I think he does a tremendous service for the community, and we got to find ways to give back.
Thank you, Toby. Cheers.
Maybe I was going to say, have a little scotch with you. It's been a minute since I've had any, so I don't know that I could keep up for long, but I'd certainly like to have one.
Of course.
Johnny Blue is always.
If you're in the audience, you should go to Patreon.
Ready access. it's a little out of my price range to justify now. So 18 is probably more my speed if I was going to buy a bottle. Are you a bourbon guy at all?
I just stick with the Johnny. I mean, normally I just do beers, but as of late, it's like you need something a bit hard. I mean, all the work that I do, you need something to relax, and that's one of the things as well in this crazy world is you need some sort of way to escape a little bit, just to relax, because who knows? I mean, that's the other thing I was actually going to say for Gary is, travel restrictions are pretty hardcore all over the world. And obviously you're jumping in and out, but I guess you've got the residency set up. I still float around and I'm moving as a tourist, which adds a lot more complexities to where and how you can get around. And it's like, that kind of adds a huge layer of uncertainty. And it's never nice to be uncertain about your future, right? And because of certain things that I have set in motion, I kind of have to perpetually keep moving for the time being. And like I say, we'll talk about maybe that at another time. But yeah, travel restrictions and stuff like that. People that want to get down to, say, Puerto Rico from the US, is that just straightforward? You can just jump on a plane and go? Or are there certain restrictions at the moment as well?
Well, there's not land restrictions. I mean, there's not airplane restrictions really. Even I go from islands and so forth. So as long as you're inside the border, you can move freely. They did have some restrictions in California that if you traveled more than 150 miles from a particular county, like you went to Las Vegas and then you came back, they wanted you to 14-day quarantine. But it's okay. I mean, everything's still tolerable to move around.
Okay. Yeah, so the rest of the world's not like that. Big problems all over. Yeah, it's crazy.
Before you go on to the next topic, I did want to say I've spoken with Silver before. I did a interview with him, and then like Toby Wan had said, Silver does have a Patreon that's very useful if you have if you're not getting enough information out of the hours of content he puts out publicly, or if you're wanting some kind of even some kind of tutelage. I don't think he's going to really call it financial advice, but he can give you insights that he may not be broadcasting to the public inside of his Patreon. So he does have a Patreon. It's very useful for a certain type of personality that needs more data. So yeah, you have him at your disposal, but check out his Patreon for sure.
Yeah, I mean, really one of the things I do focus more on is I do have the Discord set up, but people obviously have to come forward and ask things. Which I do actually leave open on my computer all the time. So I do try to give more connection to people that do obviously connect through the Patreon. They can obviously ask questions direct. And, I'll do my best to answer those.
And he has the focus in order to do the work that you do, I highly respect. I mean, it's like, the tedium of just tracking one thing inside a blockchain is too much for me. So I'm glad that you invest into that ROI for everybody.
Well, hopefully now that year one's done, a lot of the proof that you need to show to people that have bad things to say, it's like, well, there's the evidence. If you want to disprove something, go look this out and then prove me wrong. And basically they can't. So that's the end of that challenge.
So I know that because of your namesake that you paid attention to the metals markets for a long, long time. And maybe, I don't know how deep you went into other kinds of crypto as far as the transparency idea. Bitcoin, Ethereum, recorded on the blockchain. Here's what's happening, that kind of stuff. Richard gets crap often for saying that there's a lot of empty blockchains, ghost chains. They may be popularized in namesake, but there's nobody using them. When you look at the data flow and the token movement and the activity inside the HEX ecosystem, what's your impression if you've looked at other kinds of cryptos, if you've looked at other kinds of movements?
So everybody will be familiar with the terminology wash trading, where a lot of exchanges, even a lot of coins, will artificially just move transactions through the blockchain to create what appears to be volume. And that is effectively manipulated data and doesn't resemble anything. So you can see coins in the ranking sites that are, billion plus transactions. But all they're doing is moving it between themselves, and it's nothing. Inside of actually the decentralized area, you can view it all. inside of Etherscan, and everything can be linked to like a genuine wallet, to a genuine exchange. So that proves that there is real use case, use adoption, and growth. So it just adds a very deep layer of transparency, which is vital, absolutely vital in transitioning to the next era of crypto.
I have a question, Silver. I'm a big fan too, and I sing your theme song in my kitchen when I'm doing it. Great. Look, I'm an aspiring dolphin. I am a squid currently, but I guess I don't want to be on any one of your videos. So should I just become a shoal of squids in my future life, or should I, get up to the 50,000 plus list and not worry about what you find on me?
Well, from a security point of view, obviously it's better to spread between multiple accounts. But that adds obviously more work as well, because then you need multiple devices, multiple seeds, there's multiple things to look after. Mm-hmm. For lots of people, it's not a problem. I mean, everyone's coming out with their faces. Everybody's still doing very large transactions. And once you're staked and you're locked in, your transactions aren't going to be showing up on the blockchain for several years. Mm-hmm. So you're only going to show up, for a very short period, and then that's it. You're at the back of the blockchain.
What if I come out this year and it's substantial? Am I going to be featured on one of your videos? I really want to obscure myself. How would I outsmart Silver? And I'm not asking for a direct answer to that, but if you were a bad actor, how would I obscure that from, other people that are doing chain analysis on me?
Okay, so for example, you may have seen a tweet that I put out the other day where some account put out a stake of 999,999 hex, all in order to not be 1 million, and it would ping up inside of the staker app as a 1 million stake going out. So they did 1 hex less, so it didn't come up on the radar, but I still found it.
Of course.
And I still, obviously, that's one way that he was trying to not be seen, but was seen. And that was purely, I wasn't actually looking for so much. I was just going through looking at some other things. I'm just like, hey, that's quite funny. He's trying to hide. So let's see what else is going on inside the account, right? Maybe he's done this a lot of times. So you can be squeaky clean for so long, and you can just make one little thing, and I'll find it, and then it's like, oh, okay, oh, you've done this, oh, and this, oh, and you've sold that, and you've bought it, oh, okay. So I start to make a lot of profile about what that player is. So what can you physically do to not show up on the radar? Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you're doing big transactions, that will obviously show up. And one of the things that people like to do is big transactions, because it's like, generally there's a lot of people making transactions of large volume at the same time. As soon as one person does something, it does a trickle effect of other people. It's like, oh, either the trade bot is going to be jumping in and trying to scalp, a large transaction, or there are other people who will, there's a lot of traders who will jump in on top of other trades. Like they will wait for someone to do a big sell, and they might quickly snap up and buy. So I will track that trader because they've just jumped in and done a big buy. And based upon the rest of their history, they've always gone for like a 6-hour trade. They hold it, they wait for the average to pull back up, and then they're dumped straight away again and make a quick ether. Very short time mindset. So what can you physically do? The only thing you can really do is obviously keep the transactions low, dollar cost average out. So if you say you've got 10 million that you want to offload, obviously don't be selling it in 1 millions. You can sell it in 500s. But the problem is, I will also, if I'm looking at the particular time, I will also recognize addresses. And some people don't have a lot of patience, right? So they might sell every hour. So if it happens to be a day that I'm doing a video, or or 5 days that I'm taking the data, and I see a repetition of an account, even if it's like say 250, I start to recognize wallet, the first 4 digits of the wallet, and it's like, okay, if it's every 30 minutes, boom, 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 and it's 250K, well, that actually adds up to about 10 million worth of sold. So you're going into the video, right? So it's if you want to do it over a longer period of time, you're more likely to slip through the net. But like I say, if you make just one that I catch, then obviously it links all the rest as well.
Right.
So
do you offer a bounty if I turn Joe in?
It's entirely up to you, but I try not to actually reveal too much about people as well. I mean, people who are public, I think it's sometimes if they've revealed if they either revealed their public address or they've revealed a staking ladder, because with simple data points, or even if they've made comments about certain things that they've done, and a lot of people make this mistake as well inside of Hex, they talk openly and freely about, I might have just I just bought 2 ethers worth, I just got another 100,000. It's like, right, well, basically I can go back and I can find it. So people might think but there's not all that many transactions that takes place within the space of a day. It's maybe a few thousand. So the odds of actually 100,000 hex being bought in that day are remote. So there's probably only like 3 accounts in that day that may have actually picked up that amount, making it much easier on a probability that that account is yours. And you can link that to a profile, obviously, of a face of someone online. So it's like, really, if you're going to talk about anything, say the wrong numbers, right? And funny enough, I was curious. Sometimes I just get curious, right? So there was someone who said something, and I actually heard the number, and I'm like, okay, because sometimes I just test myself as well. Let me go find him. So in I go, and lo and behold, he was actually lying about the number that he said on stream, because there wasn't that transaction in that day. Right.
But by the way, chat was just trolling me, thinking that I'm going to be asking so I can I can dump on everybody. But me at my level will be like that little squid ink puff in the ocean. Just that's
it's good. I mean, the market completely absorbs most of it anyway.
So the question again, so a lot of people like this, and it's kind of like when you find out about a secret society, you're wondering, oh yeah, Skull and Crossbones. Oh, those guys, they must be really terrible people because they're a secret society. And you find out it's a bunch of goofballs or whatever. So inside of crypto, you have been around very wealthy people. You know people that are celebrity. You know people, everybody does, right? And what do you actually use that information for? If you know the top 20 wallets in Bitcoin, the top 50 wallets in Ethereum by name, does that change your life? Does that impact your life? You know that Kim Kardashian had a $4 million ring on. Does that impact your life? Does it change your life? So it's interesting how we get so curious about like identifying that person or that wallet or whatever. I think it's interesting when you label people as, this is a trader wallet and these are the trends. This is the whale and this is the trend. But the individual person, does it really matter? It doesn't really affect you. Why concern so much of your time with other people's money in the idea that that's one particular person or whatever? I never understood that. I've had far wealthier people around me that live outside of crypto, and it doesn't really impact me. So I'm just curious. I'm amazed when people get so curious about it. So
I think it's funny how it's ironic that we went through the DeFi sushi phase, yet Hex has all the real ocean creatures. I think that I have a question for anybody. If Cell in a few years reaches $1, $2, $5, and people start cashing out or end staking just humongous amounts of relative US dollars, let's say, how will people be able to not essentially fuck up the, just cause a huge splash in liquidity when they're trying to just simply, oh, today is like my birthday, I have a stake coming out. Now this is like $60,000 and you need to just go to Uniswap. Let's say that's still the way. How's it going to be where these huge numbers for, you know, the early community members in the future are just, you know, usually you have to go OTC or something, whatever crypto you have, to not mess up, to not dump the price on yourself if you're trying to move a large amount of money. With Hex at a penny, it's not quite there yet, but if it's you know, $5 or $10 in the future, and people are coming out with $1 million you know, end stakes, how's the process there to either, you know, other than restaking, if you want to take out some or cash out some, you know, is that a possibility of creating a market moving issue for people? It's a good problem to have, but is that something people think could happen?
Yes, I mean, every market has this. The impatient pay the patient. So you're going to move because of FUD or FOMO, or anybody is going to move because of FUD or FOMO. It's the same as real estate, same as gold, same as anything else. You're going to have things that it's buy the rumor, sell the news. It's all the narratives you've heard before. So every market has movements. That's why you have plateaus and rises and drops and rises. You know, just emotion more than anything, at least in my opinion. So you're asking when a stake comes out and you know it's worth hundreds of millions of dollars in that 24-hour period, and you don't know if they're going to restake and commit to a new contract. So I mean, it's a $1 trillion market one day. So I
just mean like on a personal level. Let's say you have a big stake and you want to sell it, and you don't want to like affect the, you know, normally, let's say like a Bitcoin whale wanted to sell 1,000 Bitcoin right now, they'd probably be better off having an OTC person to trade it, to not really.
So I don't want to cut you off, but you know that already exists inside of Hex. There is Hex OTC. Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
So there's already the tool. If you can imagine a tool that Bitcoin OGs might have thought of, or Ethereum OGs like Richard has been in two camps, two very successful coins, choosing the Ethereum network and obviously being a Bitcoin person for a long time. So if you can imagine it, the only thing that you don't have right now, as far as I've seen, is margin, and that's probably coming. And yeah, so there's already Hex. I think it's even called HEXotc.com.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Crypto Coffee and I did a walkthrough on, I think it was either on Hex Toys or some other website, and some of those derivatives. And there's tools already out there for Hex OTC.
Right on.
Yeah. And there's also, you already know about like the Tornado, Hex Tornado, and all these other types of things to anonymize. But again, as a market grows, you know, initially, the Telegram bot, I remember throwing around 5,000 Hex when it was, you know, a 20th of a penny or whatever it might have been, just to tip someone for doing a good meme, you know. And it wasn't because it was big money. It was small money. It's pizza money. I think my camera just died. So I'm gonna stop the camera. But yeah, so it's already out there. Don't get in. What I'm trying to promote is don't get into a fear narrative. Fear narrative has been driving all of 2020. It's been driving your biology, your decisions about who you socialize with. It's been driving your politics, your financial decisions. You know, 99% of the things that you think will happen that are going to harm you just don't. They just don't. They just don't happen. So a lot of your fear narrative, be careful about it preventing you from either participating in something good for you potentially.
Absolutely. Yeah, knowing about the OTC thing, that's really cool. I didn't know. And obviously, like, I'm just trying to see, you know, I like to try to skip years ahead and imagine stuff. But it's, to your point, there's so much innovation in such a short period of time that it's almost impossible to even know where we'll be in 5 or 10 years anyway. So it's like to just have a question and immediately know that there's already something for it. Just, it's case in point right there. So that's really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, the thing about the OTC is it actually needs a balance inside of it to execute when somebody wants to do it. And that's going to kind of be obviously outside of the version 2 Uniswap. So there has to be some entity that is behind this HEX OTC that has a significant amount of HEX that wants to transact and allow that function to happen. Because if it has a contract which automatically connects into version 2, it's just going through, obviously, the contract. There's no difference than actually just buying it directly through version 2. So do people actually know if this OTC account has a significant balance? I know it is not linked to the OA. So that OTC option has to come from somewhere if somebody wants to say, okay, I'm going to go buy $50 million worth OTC. Does anyone actually know that?
I don't know the nuance of it. I know that it exists, and just like any other kind of market, like you can have things that are OTC. And what's that do for you as a trader if you're getting out into a cash position or a different crypto position or whatever it is, and someone else is obviously bartering or trading what they have, whether it's dollars or crypto, to get what you're giving up. It's just
Uniswap automatically like pushing against yourself no matter what you're doing. Does that incentivize? Does that make it attractive to have an OTC market?
So again, these narratives, they're very interesting in this kind of context. But I also see the same people that are so concerned about moving the market against themselves and OTC transactions being such a big scale that it's going to impact slippage and so forth. And they still live in California and they're still paying 40% in tax. So some of it being ridiculous conversation that just isn't going to happen. Richard talks about it pretty often about you saying, you know, people say about liquidity, there's not enough liquidity. Let's add some more liquidity, because if we have more liquidity, we're going to have a better coin. And then you say, well, how much are you actually trading? Are you trading $6 million and moving the price against yourself? No, most of us are not. Most of us are not. So these are interesting, and they end up becoming, you know, engineer kinds of conversations about how the rocket ship works. But you just need to know that the rocket ship has a truth engine to it, that it has a do what you say you're going to do kind of engine to it. And just, I think you just simplify your life. Simplify.
I want to keep learning though. And you know, I've failed to read that level 4 article that Richard has talked about a few months ago, where it comes to how does Uniswap really work. And I think you can go into the Hex chat or something and use a trigger, and then all of a sudden it pops up like 3 or 4 different levels of understanding.
Yep.
And I need to do that research for myself, I suppose.
Yeah, I believe it's Uni. If you just type Uni ! It pops up.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, UNI !
Hey,
Toblerone and I will study that together.
Yeah.
Hey, Toblerone, to Gary's point, and you know, I'm the king of going down rabbit holes. It's like I've done a lot of that in my life, and it's like I'm a math guy. It's like I love spreadsheets. It's part of the reason I love what Silver does. You know, I think a lot of what I glean from Silver's work is just the psychology of the people that are the bigger movers and what they're doing. That doesn't, you know, that doesn't mean it's necessarily one person, because, you know, I know when I was trading other cryptos, you know, I had my holding account, and then I had several trading accounts. So, I mean, you know, all that is, you know, highly speculative, like another layer of speculation on top of, you know, that. But the broader overview of what those bigger wallets are doing does give some insight as to the psychology of those bigger players and how they could impact things short and long term, which I think is very valuable. However, I think it's a slippery slope when you know, aren't doing the kind of analysis he's doing. And you can kind of drive yourself a little crazy. I know I'm speaking for myself. And, you know, one of the things that I have found psychologically really helpful for me, having come from a trader mentality, is the beauty and the simplicity of not only staking, but a staking ladder. And if you have that structured properly and you have a good budget, you know, that's another thing that I think everybody should have. And if you're a spreadsheet guy, then that is super simple to do. You know, and then you get a pretty good idea of what kind of money you're going to need when, and you know, as long as you can make your income stable until Hex can augment that, then you really don't have to worry. You know, I mean, that's the thing for me. It's like I literally feel 10 years younger in the last year. You know, just from and I've made some big moves that were a little nerve-wracking, but you know, just the peace of mind that comes with the structure of this ecosystem that he's created with this product, this complete product, and relax and enjoy it. You know, you're in early, and you're in for the ride, and, you know, add where you can, and you know, just make sure you're communicating with people to get a good structure for when that can come out for you. And those things with, like Gary was saying, you know, with gigantic cells moving against you and those kind of things. It's like, I don't know that there's anybody except maybe Vince, the shark, in the chat right now that, you know, could even have the capability of doing that at this point. And obviously, if he's at that level, he's smart enough not to do it. So I think all that stuff's kind of a fundamental exercise, but ultimately, you know, enjoy life. I think that's I think Maddie, you know, draws on this a lot. What does this free you up to do? You know, what is your passion? What are things that you want to put your time into? Because that's something we, no matter what, we all have a limited amount of. So, you know, so where you put your mind is where you put your time. You know, and it's, I know from personal experience, it's like there's years I will never get back where I was trapped in this noggin of mine, overthinking things. And, you know, Hex has given me a lot of peace in that regard, financially.
I'll just say a few things as well, okay? This may take a little while. One of the things that a lot of people, they leave school, they leave, you know, education, if you can call it that, with absolutely no financial skills whatsoever about the life that they're going into. So normally people become trapped into what society pushes them into. Sometimes people have the freedoms to do what they want to do, but most people don't. They end up, you know, enslaved into a system. So there's a few people that kind of trickle in and find crypto and kind of break out of those shackles. And some of them even get all of their time back, right? And they actually have time to invest into themselves, to research things, to develop more, to study more, and to find out that a lot of the lessons and things that we were taught are completely useless to us, and that we don't even know the underlying most important thing, which is financial freedoms and how do you actually create that. Which is why I find it so valuable to have this opportunity to share Hex with as many people that we can, increasing our audience, because a lot of people they're not informed about what is money, right? So the thing that you said, Toblerus, about what happens when you have 10 million Hex, which is worth $100 million in, say, 5 years' time, for example. Paper numbers is, you know, irrelevant, really. But when somebody learns from this community about the values of what this actual product is, what exactly are you going to be trading it for coming out of? And that's quite valuable, because once you have the learning, the study of exactly what this entire model is, and it takes, you know, all of us, we're still learning right now. You know, everyone contributes something of value that the other person didn't think about. And people are here now. Some of them won't be here, you know, next year. They're going to move on to other things, and new people will come in, probably at an exponential level, and they will join the community, and they will probably say things that other people didn't think about before. Now, what I think is more likely to happen is, yes, of course, it's important to take some profits out, but I think over time, most people kind of won't, and they're going to learn the ability to keep rolling it over, and it will no longer be about just yourself and your own self gain, but you're going to look at this as something you pass on. And I think that is how the mindset is going to change over time. And you'll be like, this is like an inheritance tool that you pass on. I know people have talked about it before, but I think as the Hex ecosystem mindset evolves and we learn more about what is money, and the product becomes much more successful as we roll forward, because ultimately its success derives from all of us united. And if everybody cashes out, the whole thing goes to zero, much like everything else in the world. Yeah. So is everybody going to do that? No, they're not. even when things get terrible in the marketplace, most people probably won't be emergency end staking because they understand that time is the tool of this concept. So I'll add another value point, which a lot of people I don't think they really talk about. I mean, they know it, but they don't add it as a value concept. So we have had in fact, this is a game theory for tomorrow probably, but we have a lot of people who have been through tremendously difficult times, right? There's a lot of people who have had emotional things, financial things, and even, this recent outbreak, and how much longer that's going to persist for, nobody knows. But what has happened in a value concept is it has united a whole bunch of people, hundreds, possibly thousands of people who now come onto the stream. And it becomes more of like a brotherhood and sisterhood goes out there. So are people going to cash out and move out of that concept back into their life that they had before, when they have their fiat cash, they've made their money? They're going to miss the community as well. It's going to become a core aspect to our future. Everybody's going to miss talking to everybody else. It's like you're going to want to remain part of it, because if you're not, you're going to feel like you're missing that something. And that is a secret value game theory inside of Hex that not a lot of people actually really realize just yet. But that will develop along with, extending those 15-year stakes time and time again. So are people going to cash out? Is what someone dumping 10 million Hex going to be an issue in 5 years' time? Hell no.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, these are amazing points, and we always learn so much when we listen to this over the antidote. I can't wait to get your Patreon. I was trying to sign up for it while it was earlier on the stream, so I could announce that I already did. But I'm gonna have to get my credit card out.
There's no need, guys. There's no need. I mean, hopefully I can come onto more streams into this year as well and do a bit more. I'd like to spend a little bit less time on sheets because it's just painful. I don't actually get to expand on deeper topics because I love psychology as well. I love listening to certain things, and I'd love to talk more with you as well about deeper concepts, because I think it's important for everybody. It's not just about, who's selling, who's buying. At the end of the day, none of that really matters anyway. It's interesting to see it, but up and to the right, it doesn't matter who cashes out, right?
Very true.
I've got a funny aside. Some of you may have seen this, but the infamous story of Dave Chappelle walking away from the $50 million that was offered to him at Comedy Central, and kind of stepping back from the spotlight for a number of years before his reemergence. And he was on David Letterman, and Letterman had asked him about it, and he told the story, and he was like, he goes, if you got $1 million in the bank, you more or less go to the same restaurants, pretty much have the same kind of steak. There's not really a whole lot different between you and that person that's got $40 million. He goes, the only difference is an astounding $40 million. So, but the thing is, it's kind of like that paradox of people that win the lottery, and they end up with all this money and they lose it all, or they end up dead, or like these horrible outcomes because they didn't build a life for themselves. And the money is almost like this ultimate goal to get to, thinking it's going to afford you some sort of better reality. But you don't spend the time investing in what's most important, which is your mental health and your perspective on what you can do. And I think Gary's gone into this a lot with his videos, especially. And Joe Hexotic's talked about it. It's like, the importance of giving back, what you can do for your fellow man. Richard's talked about it endlessly, his goals for what he sees beyond this, so those types of things to focus on. And I think just generally as a habit, I feel like I'm personally happier and more content when I'm helping others and thinking about others. When I'm in my own head, that's the worst time for me. So, if you can, so I've got ideas of a foundation I want to start. I've got, I grow coral as a hobby. So, so I've got ideas of starting a coral farm, and Puerto Rico is a perfect spot. So I have some ideas of those kinds of things, and providing jobs for people, doing some sustainable aquaculture and things of that nature. And those types of things I put my mind into are so much more rewarding than watching a chart, which I did for so long. And I kind of fell into that same habit even with Staker app, to be honest. Old habits kind of get you, you know, and I was refreshing it like crazy. And then after a while, I'm just like, why? It's like, I think my next stake comes out in like maybe February, March or something. And then like, it's going to be a long time for the rest of them. So it's like, what's the point? You know, it's like, this is what's more gratifying to me, is being able to learn from other people, see what they're interested in, you know, how they're making their lives and the lives of people around them better. Yeah, I mean, that's my 25 cents worth. That's more than 2 cents, right?
Joe Exotic, we haven't heard from you recently, and I want to hear what you have to say.
Joe.
I haven't listened to a thing in the past half hour. No,
You're in the comments, huh?
I'm kidding. I love what Silver said, and Toby, you know, reiterating the fact that we're building a community where the money is secondary. You know, it's beautiful, it's nice, it's something I don't have to worry about or think about, but the contribution that we're providing to helping one another and the movement is just so much larger than that. I truly feel like we've been blessed. There's divine intervention, that each one of us is extremely special that's in the Hex community, and that's why we're here. We each bring our own set of tools, and when we unite, we're an unstoppable team. And if you're going to change the world, and the world is a scary place with a lot of bad things happening, how do you possibly change the entire place at once? Well, you get all these creative, intelligent, strong people that have been through hell and back, and then you give them this product that's going to multiply in value so much that it's hard for the lay person to even understand that that's a possibility. And soon enough, you know, we'll have the wealth and the fortune to create the world that, you know, be the change that we want to see, to help others, to spend our time creating, to not have to work for somebody else that doesn't appreciate who we are, you know, to give back to the world, to make it be the place that I want it to be for my children to grow up in, you know. And I get to hear you guys say that same thing, you know, in other words, is a beautiful thing.
And that's part of what Joe and I are exploring when we do Hex Therapy Live. We're trying to push the envelope and understand how people can change their own behaviors, how you can mint your own mental health by combining certain tools. So for example, I don't think I've ever talked about this on stream, but somebody told me about this device that allows me to shock myself. I mean, get a really good shock going, right? And this is marketed as a behavior change device to change bad habits, right? And so Toby Wan, you could wear this, and I've tested a little bit on myself, but you could wear this, and every time you check Staker app, you could hit the button and zap yourself, and your brain would learn very quickly not to do that anymore, right? It would take 2 or 3 or 4 trials. And I think with Hex is such a rewarding thing. You know, who knows? Maybe there will be some sort of integration. I've always imagined that people could pay themselves to do the healthy behaviors that they want, because we know psychologically that, you know, zapping yourself, that can be effective, but it can be effective on another level when you reward yourself or when you're in a rewarding environment. And that's part of what I see as a solution to some of the issues in mental health, is because we're so focused on blaming the individual and thinking that the problem is inside of you, when really it's an interaction between you and your environment. And so if we can program money to be more mentally healthy, or if we can allow people to program money in ways that you can reward yourself, or so for example, if I track, or if I do enough steps on my Fitbit, then I unlock the Hex that, you know, wasn't staked but wasn't liquid because I wrote a smart contract. And that's a treatment for depression, is behavioral activation. And we know that through contingency management, which is what I talked about a little bit in my talk yesterday, that's one of the most effective interventions in psychology. If we look at the effect size, is just paying people to be healthier. is super effective. And so I think that's one of the things that Joe and I were super interested in, and we want to work with more people in the community to find ways to make behavior change and mental health more rewarding.
Yeah, like what's going on with the Ski Cat challenge, right? So Hexo and Ski Cat started that. Maddie's done it before with Steph. He was going to go running, put it out there. Steph matched him with the social contract, held him accountable. Same thing with Hexo, right? Taking a picture of his weight, you know, on screen for all of us to see. I mean, how embarrassing would that be to do for the first time in a community that nobody else has done, right? So Hexo goes out and he does that, and it sparks a physical revolution within our community, right? Everybody, I wasn't going to do it right away, but then once I saw Motley do it, once I saw a couple other people do it, you know, I was like, you know what? I'm not happy with the weight I just put on over the holidays either. I've been eating junk. I've been eating ice cream. I want to get in on this, you know, and this social contract that we're making with one another, it's as good as money, if not better, you know, and that's what Maddie and I have discussed before, is the ability to pay our future selves, like Maddie's, you know, said many times, monetarily, but it's bigger than that. It's mental, physical, and spiritual that we can be doing this. And the idea is so big, it's hard to even wrap our minds around, you know, what the possibilities are. It's such a groundbreaking, revolutionary idea that the world can truly be changed by paying your future self, that you can better every component of your life in this manner. It hasn't been thoroughly processed yet, you know, and we talk about it a lot. So I'm intrigued to be in a community of very brilliant people that are also intrigued by the same idea.
Yeah, healthier minds create stronger hands, and that's the that's the thing that Hex does already, right? It's built in already, is making your hands stronger by allowing you to lock and then keep your promise at least half the time, no matter what. For half, so you guys know what I'm talking about. But
yeah, it's interesting, Joel, what you say, because I remember maybe a couple of years ago I saw like a video, an experiment, and it was something to do with like the Bitcoin community, something like that. But it was basically like a cartoon about how, actually it wasn't a cartoon, it was a live experiment where one person would go out into the field, would play music, and would just start dancing on their own, having a great time. And people would look at them in a crowded place and be like, my God, what a weirdo. But then that one person tries to encourage one more to come join them. And many people are just like, no, 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 and they're all shy. But then eventually one person joins. And then they're having a bit of a party. And then they get a few more people and a few more. And then suddenly everybody wants to join it. And everyone's just having a party. All because that one person created the whole thing to happen in the first place.
Yeah, I've seen that same thing. And I think I discussed this earlier on the stream before we came over. I love, maybe it was just in the green room, but I love when I see on Twitter somebody talk about Richard or talk about Hex and say, what do you think you're going to do? Change the world? What do you think one person can make a difference? And that same thing happened. It started with Richard. It's been, it caught on to, maybe I saw it in the conference. Maybe I'm paraphrasing what was live today. The past couple of days are kind of all bleeding together, but
yeah.
But you know, one man brought Hexo and RG, and those men inspired, you know, everyone that's on screen here right now to contribute their aspect of it. And to tell me that we can't change the world, I mean, I see it every day. I'm here alive. I'm happy. I'm passionate. I'm motivated, and it's because of the community, the Hexagon community, and it goes back to one man, you know. So that video is awesome, Silver. I've seen it too. I love that.
Mm. Something else that I wanted to raise as well, which with all the content that's going on, and I mean, I feel pretty exhausted by a lot of just trying to digest it, and there's not enough time to actually digest anything either. And that's actually a valuable part of learning, is the digestion period. Like just to walk away from all the information, just absorb it, think about it, you know, without looking at the next video, the next stream, the next thing, which is, you know, it can actually be detrimental, I think, to the learning. The more you watch, the more you consume, because a lot of it starts to, like you say, blur into each other, and you might miss certain things. You'll forget certain things, and your brain won't digest it. So yeah, it's important to balance your time with just doing normal things, going out, having a walk, thinking about, you know, some of the things that you've heard today, and then, you know, come back to it and watch something else. But to just sit and just binge everything that comes out actually will be detrimental, and it won't be very healthy for anything to do with your health.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I remember when I was going to school and we, you know, I learn about studying. I used to take a class to learn how to do better in college, right? So the whole class was designed to teach me how to study better, and they taught me exactly that you don't cram for a test, because the reason is you need to sleep for 6 to 8 hours to have, you know, Maddie would know that part in your brain that needs the sleep, but it's the neurons or the gliodendrates, whatever that word is. So there's some part of your brain, right, that you can't just cram for a test. If you really want to get it and sink into your long-term memory, then you study for a couple hours and then get a good night's sleep, and that's how you really, you know, do better. And it's something I'll always remember. And you know, sleep's important. Sleeping, eating, drinking water. I mean, the basics, the physiological needs of Maslow's hierarchy is something that, you know, we don't really discuss as a culture in the United States. You go to the doctor, you get given a pill. You know, it doesn't really remedy anything. It causes a side effect. And so that's why I love working with Maddie, and, you know, the guests that I've had on my show in particular, we talk about basic, you know, taking care of our basic needs, just sleeping right, eating right, getting plenty of water. You know, and then it's amazing how you can work on the other needs as a human being. But so often is it overlooked just to take care of that. I mean, yesterday I couldn't stream past 1 a.m. my time. My eyes were just felt like they were going to fall out of my head, and my head was pounding. And so I knew that we were going to do this again today. So I just made sure I was more hydrated. I got some good advice from the HEXchange community on Twitter to have some extra electrolytes. Made sure I took my omega-3s, and, you know, I got a nap in today as well. So it's amazing with just a little bit of preparation and taking care of those needs, how much better and, you know, ready to rock that I am today. And we all are as humans.
Good self-care.
Yeah.
I got a nap in when Kool-Aid was talking.
I'd like to see a head-to-head with him and Kareem, just like going at it. It's
right.
But something I was thinking is, you know, as far as just the back to the mental health aspect and stuff, and I haven't, you know, been as involved in any other community as I have in this one. But from what I've seen, you know, having been around crypto for a number of years, it's like, how many Hexcans do you see talking about Lambos? You know, it's like, it's just not even really a thing. It's like, you know, I like nice cars. It's like, you know, seeing Gary's presentation, it's like I was drooling over some of those cars, you know, but I also know friends of mine that have had things like that, and the stress that comes along with them, you know, the maintenance and the worry of this or that, or, you know, it's not all fun and games. It's like it's kind of a materialistic kind of hollow victory, really, I think, in certain ways. I mean, not to disparage people that want, you know, higher dollar items. But it's I think that also gives people hesitation about Hex, and why we get kind of the cultish, you know, kind of moniker that we all have to wear. It's because it's just like Hex itself. It's kind of unbelievable. You know, it's like, really? It's like there's that many, because like I've had people in my life come to me and be like, nobody's that good. It's like, what's your angle? Like, what do you want? You know? And it's like, no, it's like, I really don't want anything. It's like, I just really, the joy in me is from when I can give to somebody else. It's like, that is the most rewarding thing that I've experienced. And, you know, not that I'm Jesus Christ by any means, but, you know, those are moments that I've had in my life that I've kind of put a little pin in is the most rewarding, and try to remember that. And it's so nice to be around like such a diverse group of people that all kind of have that common thread. It is unbelievable, you know? So, I mean, I can see why the skeptics are like, these people are fucking, well, sorry about the F-bomb. These people are freaking nuts. It's like, you know, it's like, what Hex? It's like, what is a scam coin? And it's like, these people are bonkers. It's like, what are they talking about? But it's real, you know, just as simple and structured and beautifully designed as Hex is. I think it's the same with the community. It's like, you know, this is genuine. This is not MLM. There is not some big referral thing that anybody's getting out of this. And if anyone thinks that any of us would put in the time that we put in, and mine's a fraction compared to anyone on the screen, is just to pump our bags, that's ridiculous. I mean, anybody that takes the time to do the math would realize that that's not a good investment of time if that's all you're trying to do. You know, so I mean, I think it's the sincerity comes through across the board with so many people, and it's like, you know, I'm really honored to be a small part of it and excited to continue with it. You know, because I think Silver was saying, you know, that you would miss the community. You know what, you cash out and you get your big bag of money, and then you run off and, you know, get some hookers and blow and a Lambo, and you're, you know, come on, you know, it's like that's not a sustainable way to live, or a way to make the world a better place, or to really get into any deeper levels of satisfaction. And it's reaffirming, you know, to hear it from you guys, you know, when I don't have a chance to hop on and share my own way to articulate it, but to hear it from so many different sources. And there's this thread that goes through all of it. That's just, it's inspiring.
Yeah. If you're going to pass, if you're going to pass your hex on to the next generation, then it makes sense to like make sure that the world's in better condition too.
It's a tougher group inside of this, you know, whether we're weathered or just have experience under our belt. But basically, like I had commented before, the metal and you find inside yourself, you will be amazed at what you have inside of you. You know, maybe in my life I've had 30 cars, you know, maybe like 15 Corvettes and, you know, Ferraris, and I've had shit in my life, but that doesn't really have meaning or consequence when you really reflect and you look back. You say, okay, what impact have I had? Whose life have you positively impacted? What mentorship or what knowledge might you have accrued through maybe even hardship that you can pass on to someone else and make their life a little bit easier? You know, even just the little things like Crypto Grandma getting some support tonight. I think that's really cool. I think that's amazing. You know, the people that aren't necessarily taking advantage of the community or camaraderie, or, you know, the basic parts of our human psychology to help others, you know, the altruistic motivation. I think that's really what you find when you reflect on your life, whether it's because you helped your family or people that you went to school with, or, you know, some other kind of brotherhood. You will feel better because you do things to help other people reach their goals than honestly you accomplishing your own. I mean, you just feel better. So yeah, the Zig Ziglar stuff from, you know, tonight, and I've played a few times in the past, is meaningful because you will get everything that you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. So that's really where I get meaning now.
Yeah, I mean, I have experienced a lot of things going through life. So one of the goals, obviously, when people grow up, they're like, hey, I want to be rich. I want to be successful. I want to have this. I want to have that. But when you actually get those things and you realize, I actually still feel hollow about who I am. I'm not actually getting anything by having these items. They're nothing. They're just material type assets. And it doesn't actually make you happy. So what's really interesting is, you know, a lot of people will have goals. They will want to say, okay, I want to make $1 million, right? That's a very, very standard type thing that people want to achieve, just to say that I've done it, okay? But what actually happens is when people get there, they're like, oh shit, I hit that target. What am I supposed to do now? Like, I don't actually feel any different. Nothing has actually changed. Okay, I've got something. I've got a bit more flexibility. You can get that Lambo, but I'm still missing something. And that's what you're hitting on there, Gary, which is to actually do something beyond that. But it takes people a lot of time just to actually experience it, because they won't believe it to begin with. They won't think, oh, I need to give something back, because I think a lot of people in society are just naturally raised to be selfish and inner thinking of only themselves. And it takes time for them to actually break through that and think beyond themselves and give back. And it's only when you give back and physically help someone change their life do you actually then gain value in yours. You've actually positively affected somebody else's life. And that is actually one of the most powerful things that you can do, which is also why Richard just loves, you know, trying to help people see things. And what does he do with the wealth that he's generated? He buys a pillow right?
That's right.
If I could add to that, I was on Maddie had me on a few weeks ago, one of his therapy streams, and we talked about an extension of the idea was I read the study that he was involved in school about tobacco addiction and reducing that via was it contingency methods or either way. The point being, I live in an area with a lot of hard drug use problems in the communities and in the city, and there's always discussions of municipal, how do we solve this, and they never really get very far in terms of a real, there's financial aid and there's assistance, but there's no, there's nothing, there's not too many things that are novel or attempted. And I think that something like Hex, maybe not so much in such a long scale, but perhaps in a magnified or focused, shorter term, goal-oriented mechanism that does the same thing, where you say, okay, I will, if I refrain from this addictive thing, I will be rewarded in an hour or a day or 2 days. And so basically the ideology of Hex for, patience, gratitude, deferral, long-term waiting, and for your own benefit. We were talking about how maybe if governments or local municipal community centers could find out as a case study what Hex can do, but apply it to mental health and drug addiction as one example of a way for actual governments even to facilitate this in a way to try to help people. Okay, if and with money, it's the main carrot for humans to drive any sort of incentive behavior. Say, okay, I will, if this community center or this community program will promise me this, and even if it is somehow digital, like if it's like a modern, a different version of Hex where people can come every day, they do their test, they say, I didn't do this today, I didn't do this today, they get rewarded. If they come back the next day and they've relapsed, they have to start again. For example, maybe it's like something that they can, the more they do, the more they get rewarded, for example. But basically it's that.
I think that's a great stream, and it's there's probably lots of angles, and I hope that from a top down and from a macro and an individual level, I hope that we as a society get better at helping each other and helping ourselves to fight addiction and mental health problems. And part of what always made me so curious is that in our lab we discovered, and other places it seemed obvious, but it wasn't being done in science, to just pay people $1,000 to quit smoking tobacco. They could do it, but people spend thousands of dollars of their own money, and they want to quit, but they can't. And so there's some function of it being external to yourself. And so that's why I try to say that with programmable money, you could create rules, and you could maybe even create a new function of money to where you are able to pay yourself just the same way that somebody else could pay you if you set rules onto it. And I am thinking less that it would necessarily be governments that would do that for certain reasons, but I wouldn't be against that. I just think that at the individual level, there's kind of a missing piece of humans not being able to motivate themselves or not able to keep themselves accountable. And so when I look at Hex as a truth engine, and that's kind of what Bitcoin was supposed to be too, but Hex as a truth engine that already works and already has so many hundreds of millions of dollars locked for years, it really makes me excited.
I can't remember the researcher, but he was on Rogan, and he was talking about a study I believe they did in Switzerland in regard to the massive drug addiction issues there, and it was really enlightening because he spoke of about the Swiss people. I mean, it's like the people that build clocks, right? It's like they're very structure oriented and very conservative and more right leaning, and you would think that would be the last place that would legalize drugs. And but they brought in scientists and they did the math on it, and they realized that it made sense in the long term to go about it in that fashion. And the short version was basically what they had kind of determined was it wasn't a drug problem, it was a hope problem, and that these people had no purpose, and they had gotten to be so far kind of downtrodden in society that there was prostitution and drugs and all these kind of tangential things that kind of go hand in hand with bad cases of drug addiction, and they found that being able to kind of take the stigma away by giving them work, giving them a place to live, and giving them free heroin, quite frankly.
That's a great point.
Pretty much took the drug problem and the prostitution and crime problem to virtually zero. And what was interesting is, everyone thinks like, oh, well, if you give a drug addict heroin, they're going to do it for the rest of their lives, or they're going to do so much that they're going to kill themselves. And the actual program worked out such that they were allowed to have as much heroin as they wanted. They chose their own dose, and they didn't have anyone that overdosed. And they only had, I think, one person that was still in the program after 13 years, and everyone had reintegrated into society and had jobs and families and were back to a more satisfied existence, because they addressed the underlying issue, which was this lack of hope. So yeah, I mean, I think something, whether it's
well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it was just hope, because they gave them a different environment in which to thrive and structure, and those are, and I think hope is something that comes into it as well. But I think definitely working 11,000 hours with people who have drug addictions, I think that there's this idea that like you have to be ready in order to change, and it turns out that is not true. You just have to have the structure, because I work with a lot of people who are court ordered, and they don't want to change, but there is sufficient punishment in place where they start to do therapy because they have to, and then they want to do it because they hit those natural rewards.
Right.
It's similar to when I tricked myself into liking running and got healthier. I had to hit those natural rewards, which I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't create more incentives for myself.
Right.
So I think that hope is a really useful when people want to change,
Right.
and it's part of it. But I think that there are lots of other hacks that can be applied as well.
Right. Well, it was the lack of hope that was the core of the issue. And then they provided structure by getting them into jobs, getting them somewhere to live. They had the structure of coming in the morning to get their dose before they went to their job, and then they could come back in the evening and get their other dose. And then they had that structure built in. It's like, you live within these parameters, and then you can have all the free drugs you want. And then it was kind of counterintuitive, because people thought like, well, if you do that, it's just going to be madness. And it wasn't. It was actually the opposite, because all of a sudden they started to see the benefits of the structure and the benefits.
Yeah. And that matches up with some of the stuff that we see when it comes to the marshmallow test, right? The truth is that people can change, and people can start using better strategies once they learn them and practice them and see others. And so that's what's so cool about another thing that's cool about Hex is, as Silver the Antidote pointed out, we're all still learning. Even those of us who have been studying it longer are still continuing to understand ourselves better, and to put that into action when it comes to our staking behavior.
Yeah, that all helps to obviously teaching new people that come, because every new day that we learn something new also about ourselves is something else we can share to those who are coming.
Yeah. Very forward thinking.
Amazing. So what else? Can we revert this back to Hex somehow? Because there might be a lot of people that say, oh, okay, that's psychology. We're all good with that. But I think somehow it's hard to tie. The both are important, but it's hard to actually, because people care a lot about money, right? Oh, I only care about price. But how many of them actually switch off in a live stream when you start talking about the mental side? I think probably quite a lot. I mean, have you experienced that inside of your experiences? I haven't actually checked out any of your shows yet, Joe. I will actually get over there at some point because, yeah, I'm interested in a lot of the information that you're going to share. I think there's obviously value in that, but it's a time thing, isn't it? It's a development stage. People will only afford that time once they're kind of happy with the monetary side of things, or maybe they need to step into other realms. Like, actually, instead of just listening and consuming things, I'm actually going to make something and offer something back. So there's not enough time for people to learn the whole aspect of the journey. So people will really just pick out the bits that they feel that's the walk of life that they're in at the moment, which is actually another great reason. With all the people that we have, there's somebody who caters to where somebody else is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like working out, like you're too tired to work out, or believe in God. Like you don't have the time to go to church, but then when you start to actually work out, you realize that you're less tired, or when you go to church, you realize you actually have more time. So it's like what I think is I'm hoping to provide an outlet for people to emotionally attach to realize that this is, that the world is more important than money, right? But Hex is what brought us all together. And so, I certainly don't want anybody to miss out on things that they love by watching my show, but I hope it's one of those things like that it creates more than it takes,
It's important to have a grounding, I think, in whatever you're doing, and to have a purpose. A lot of people will just want to make money just for the sake of making money, but they don't even know what the hell to do with it. So
yeah,
to actually have, a spiritual type element, or I think a good goal that people can have is actually to aim to help someone else.
Absolutely. Silver, when you were talking before, I mean, I've had a lot of money. I had a high powered job. I was the boss, and I had all the cars, money, clothes, women that I could ever want. And I was empty inside. I was miserable. There was nothing there. And through helping others, through, my seeking of my relationship with God, my duty in staying sober, like Maddie said, I celebrate tomorrow because it's 3 a.m. here, my 1-year sobriety date. And in me staying sober, part of the way I have to do that is by helping other alcoholics, which is, why I had this mindset of, okay, I'm going to take what I learned from my 12-step. I'd like to help other people in the world. Here's what I'm going to do. And that fulfillment of creating, but it's through service, right? Through service, unity, and in recovery are the 3 pillars of my recovery. So, I saw an opportunity to create unity here, to bring my expertise and help me stay sober. So that's really what I'm doing. Is I get fulfilled on a daily basis more than any amount of money I've ever had. To have somebody come on like Vince. Vince came on and we went through Christmas together, and Christmas was a tough day for me. I wasn't with my wife and my girls, and Vince came on. We discussed the Bible and the correlations between Jesus and Richard and Hex, and not to make him anything more than what he is. He's a mortal man, but it was interesting to have that discussion. And there's a community around us that gave very positive feedback. And I mean, I had one of the best Christmases I've ever had. And like I said, I wasn't actually with my family. So this is a wonderful place that I'm incredibly grateful to be a part of. I'm truly blessed, and I love everybody here. I love this community. So
I think it's funny because it's like I was just thinking to myself as you were saying that, Joe. how, when I've got this idea for my own stream soon, hopefully, and it's Hex 101 with Toby 1, right? And I feel like we're kind of at Hex like 401. We're like at an advanced level. I think after people kind of get in and understand, what Hex makes possible, then it opens your eyes to the possibilities of getting time back. And then what are you going to do with that time? And, what kind of man do you want to be, or woman do you want to be? And, how do you want to leave the world? And it opens it gets you off of, the here and now, and kind of, it helps you, think next level. But to Silver's point, the sexier thing, the thing that probably the vast majority of people, and probably a lot of us initially to be interested in it, was price go up,
Right.
And then it's almost like a shell, like a head fake or a bait and switch. And it's like Richard duped us, right? He got us in on price go up, and then all of a sudden he got us thinking like he is with SciVive and longevity research and these other things that he wants to do beyond that. So the sexy thing was, hey, here, get crazy amounts of wealth, and that's like, your eyes get big and you think about, oh, that's going to solve all these problems. And then as you start to think about it more, you're like, wait, that doesn't solve all the problems, but it gets your foot in the door. And then all of a sudden you're learning about these things that are, that enrich you in other ways. So, and I mean, I think that's what's exciting. Like the guy that I onboarded today, it's like, it was with 10,000 hex, I mean, it's a small stake, it's 5 years out, but he's starting, and it's like, it's helping him realize, what's possible, in the future, by giving yourself those little goalposts, those rewards that are waiting for you in the distance, and to just kind of change your ideas about time. But yeah, price goes up is exciting, I mean, and that's not a bad thing, and that's going to draw more people in. And then more people are going to end up at the higher level courses like we're talking about right now. So I think this is that ripple effect of changing the world. Do your own little corner. Who can you impact today? What can you do in your own circle to make the world a little bit better place? And then you get enough people together doing that same thing, and then before you know it, the world really does start to change.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for this amazing discussion, and I think we're generating content that'll be helpful to people for a long time to come, to say the least. And Silver, it's been an honor to be here with you, and so I'm glad you joined us, and everybody else too. This is an awesome group of people we got here. I'm asking that we limit the content each day to 8 hours. And so we're coming up on our time limit here. And so I just wanted to make sure everybody gets a chance to maybe say their last words, and, let us know how to find you if we can.
I've said enough. So everybody else, please jump in. Vince, Papa.
I'd like to thank you, Maddie and Joe, for putting this together. Incredible feat. And it's only the second day. And now I'm going to go back into my casket and prepare for the next run of 8 hours tomorrow. It's great. You can find me nowhere because I want you to leave me alone. And
That's awesome. It's really hard to follow up on that guy.
Great.
So this has been amazing. I'm very privileged to participate in the first of many future exchanges like this. This is great. So I'm at the end of my 8 hour attention span. I'm going to go into my casket and crypt as well. And you can find me pretty much. Funding Gym is where I spend most of my time. Probably like 70% of my content is not related to Hex or crypto or anything. But my other channels are Gifting You Hex. So if you look up Gifting You Hex on basically any social platform, or if you look up Funding Gym, you'll find me. But I'm obsessed with Telegram, and I'm pretty open to, if I have the time, to helping just about anybody in the community.
Thank you.